Cow. There we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. We're keeping it the wrestle. Yeah. Do that one more time. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the wrestling show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Wrestle Talk live here on YouTube. We've got a great show planned for you. As always, I'm here with wrestling connoisseur Trevor Souton. So, how are you doing, Trevor?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I'm always doing good. I was in Chicago this week. I was having fun in CM Punk City, and it was a great time. It was a great time. We
How long
have
were
a
you there?
wonderful. Oh, I was only there. I was there for like a solid 5 days. Solid 5 days. Just enjoying the city. I did stay. I told you right by Wintrust Arena, the home of AEW Revolution 2020. Also scoped out some hotels in the Hoffman Estates area potentially for AEW all out, but we will announce that kind of stuff later down the line. Anyway, welcome everyone. We got a great show planned for you this week. Thanks to all those who are watching live here on YouTube, and also welcome to everyone who is hopefully at this point listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We got that figured out for this week, hopefully. But if you're listening to this on there, welcome. We're going to be talking about Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view event that was held over this past weekend for WWE. Going to be talking about how NBC and USA Network are not happy with WWE and their product. Fox as well, not happy with the recent returns that WWE has done. Also going to be talking about new set designs for WWE and previewing the huge matchup between Jungle Boy and Kenny Omega for the AEW World Title this week on Dynamite. So lots to talk about. Let's get right into it, Trevor. Hell in a Cell. That's not Hell in a Smell, but it was pretty close. Was this past weekend, and it was underwhelming to say the least for a lot of people who've watched it. I'm sure you've seen a lot of reaction. I'm sure you've reacted to it in that same way, Trevor. What do you think? Just give me your overall impressions of Hell in a Cell as a pay-per-view. And, also going into it, we found out that Roman Reigns wasn't going to be wrestling on this show. So what do you have to think? What do you think about all of that?
I think once most people, myself included, found out Roman Reigns wasn't on the show, I've really had very low expectations after that. To be honest, I mean, because like we've said week in, week out, SmackDown is the better product, and matches from SmackDown are what to watch, which is why like Bianca Belair and Bayley was one of the better matches. All in all, it was lukewarm. It had its ups for like 2 seconds, and it had mostly downs.
Yeah. You know what this felt like to me? It felt like watching a very good Impact like TV show in 2020. That's what it felt like. Whatever that means.
Right.
It was the wrestling was fine. I had some questionable outcomes. We'll talk about those. But for the most part, the wrestling was fine. It just didn't do anything. It didn't accomplish anything for me. It didn't make me feel anything. It was kind of like just like, okay, match, good, fine, cool.
Right.
It was just one of those nights and one of those cards. But let's get into the card. To start off the pay-per-view, they had Bianca Belair defending her WWE SmackDown Women's Championship against Bayley in a Hell in a Cell. This was something we didn't get to last week in the review section. It was updated after we'd already recorded that. But what do you think about this match specifically? Because for me, I thought that this was kind of the peak of the entire card. And I thought these two had a good match, but I'll get into what I have to say later. What did you think about this match?
I agree. Like I didn't understand why this match wasn't last. You know what I mean? Like to me, this match should have been last. You've had females, close out shows. Well, I'm sorry, women close out shows before, in title matches. You should have done that with this one. These ladies can perform. We've seen that time and time again. They have great chemistry together. I assumed this was going to be a good match, and it was. It didn't disappoint. You saw Bianca step her game up a little bit too, which is what I was hoping she would do. And Bayley is the perfect person for her to wrestle to do that. So all in all, I thought it was a great match.
Yeah, I thought it was good. For me, I said last week that I wanted to see a different side of Bianca Belair. I wanted to see a Bianca Belair that was kind of ruthless. We saw glimpses of that, I think, in this match, and that's a good thing. It's building her character because before she's this very, very not. I don't want to say bland, but like she's this very cut and dry babyface. Like she's like happy, smiling, and it's weird because it works for her in her current state, and she's getting over by doing it. But what I think the fans want to see is this other side of her as well. They want to see this character evolve into someone who is dangerous and a huge threat, not just a threat athletically, but also a threat to do anything in their power within the rules as a face, obviously, to win the match. And, we saw glimpses of that with the spots of her in a steel chair. I like that. The spot where she powerbombed, I believe, Bayley through the kendo sticks. That was it. I like that spot.
I like that.
I really thought, because usually you see the same spot, oh, they get a table out and they powerbomb. Cool. You're kind of desensitized to it. But like the kendo stick, I thought that was a good spot. And Bayley and her award-winning rivalry with Michael Cole is just amazing.
Shut up, Michael!
I love that. I love that. She's saying what everyone else is thinking. I thought this was great. This was could it have been better, in my opinion? Yeah. There are things that I would have done differently. There are things that I would have liked to have seen rather differently. I'm not a booker. Don't at me. But other than that, I thought this was the best match on the card for me. And like you said, I do think this should have gone on last because it's, I think, by far the most important match on this card, at least for a lot of wrestling fans who watch the product. You can argue maybe the WWE title match. Oh, well, it's the prestigious WWE title. But at the same time, what's the match that is the best match? The match that people are interested in seeing happen again. And also the match where, the most over person on the card is.
Right.
It's Bianca Belair. But
yeah, absolutely.
That's neither here nor there. Good match. Let's move on and talk about Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. He beat Cesaro. So they did Seth Rollins via pinfall. It was, again, this was a fine match. But
it was just a match. It was nothing
nothing
spectacular about it,
Yep. Cesaro went for the sharpshooter, then the crossface, but ultimately Rollins, he out wrestled him for a roll up, and he got one over on him. See you next month at Money in the Bank.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, not saying that either one of them performed badly, because they did. I thought it was a good match as far as wrestling was concerned, but it was just one of those things. Just you're sitting there watching it, he's like, well, all right, what's the next match?
Yeah, it was one of those matches. It's fun to watch, Michael, but like it didn't really do, like you said, didn't really do much. Another thing that I will say is that as far as, this being the feud that Cesaro goes right into after his big moment, after his big WWE Universal Title match with Roman Reigns, which was like the biggest moment of his career. After that, like, he goes into this feud that nobody cares about with Seth Rollins. Like, here's the thing. I don't get this. There's a weird disconnect with Seth Rollins that I don't understand, but I know, like, that it's happening, right? Seth Rollins recently, everything that he's done, I think, since winning against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35, it's come across as just not good. It's just, Seth Rollins is meh. It's meh. And I don't know what the problem is, because there were points where I thought things like, his Monday Night Messiah gimmick were good. And then it kind of just petered out. Part of that was COVID, I guess. But, even then, like, there's other things in COVID that made it through. But Rollins has this weird thing of, he's a great wrestler. He can cut good promos. And he had a great gimmick. And then what they do? Oh, he's ripping Rey Mysterio's eye out. And then he's ripping Aleister Black's eye out. And then he's throwing up afterwards. And then, like, you're not turning him into a monster. You're turning him into a weak heel. And then he's going into a weird storyline with Rey Mysterio's daughter and Murphy. And it's, I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's just not getting him over. And I don't know what the disconnect is. It's just every time Seth Rollins on my screen, now I'm just like, oh my God, it's become a headache.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's a shame too, because you would think him being on SmackDown now would help a little bit because that product is overall better. But he's just not. No, I mean, at first with the whole him and Cesaro thing, I thought it was going to be an interesting feud, but like it just comes across as bland and actually at this point stale. Like you just don't know what they're going to do with him or what you can do with him at this point because, like you said, there's a disconnect there, and I'm not sure exactly if it's with him and the writers or him with the overall company in general or just him dealing with something personal.
Yeah. Speaking of personal, what happened in the next match is personal for me because they have ruined Alexa Bliss. They arguably the most talented your most talented all-around performer in the company. They have ruined. Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler was, I think, by far the worst thing on this pay-per-view. She ended up beating Shayna Baszler via pinfall. Okay. That's fine. How she did it, though. And let me just go through this a little bit, all right? So there were certain spots in this match. We talked ad nauseum, Trevor, about how much we hated the build-up for this feud. We talked ad nauseum how much we hated the segment of this doll, this magical possessed doll who is driving Shayna Baszler crazy, driving her insane. We've talked ad nauseum how much we hated that. I'm not even gonna bring that up. What happened in this match, there were a few spots. One, there was a spot where Shayna Baszler was twisting Alexa Bliss's arm, and then, it did this, she's like double jointed or whatever, so it did this thing where it popped, and it like went the wrong way, and Michael Cole's like, oh my God, we've never seen this before, and blah, 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 and oh my God, or not Michael Cole, it's Jimmy Smith, whoever's on commentary for Raw. It's like, we've never seen this before, and I'm just like, watch any Alexa Bliss match.
Exactly.
When she wrestled, and you've seen it before. It's this thing where WWE doesn't think the fans watch the product. And it's like, it's not the first time this happened. All right, so that's one. Number two, okay, they have Alexa Bliss now doing this weird ineffective way of walking. Yeah, this walking thing where she's doing like a crawl and like what is that? Oh yeah, it's weird. It's not scary.
No.
It's not getting stupid. Her over. It's actually stupid because it's wasting time. Yeah, exactly. It's wasting time. And then the creme de la creme, Trevor. The Baby Yoda spot, as I'm going to call it.
So
Alexa Bliss has Shayna Baszler down and then looks over at Nia Jax. And then she puts her hand out. And then Nia Jax is possessed by Alexa Bliss, and it causes Nia Jax, and basically it's this weird voodoo thing where whatever Alexa Bliss does, Nia Jax is now doing, and she slaps Reginald, and I like hokey stuff in wrestling, right? I like to laugh at hokey stuff in wrestling. I was not laughing. I was literally sitting there watching the clock. Do you ever do this thing when you're like, all right, there's X amount of time left in the pay-per-view, and then like this match can only go so long. That's what I was doing. I was waiting for this match to be over. This was terrible. -5 stars. This was bad. It was Twisted Bliss for the win. What do you got to say, Trevor?
So when the match came on, I was like, do I really want to watch this? And I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. And I cracked open something to drink, and I remember I'm putting it up to my mouth, and then I saw the spot with that you're talking about with whoever is announcing on Raw, and I'm like, really? She's done this before, and don't get me and also don't get me wrong, the announcing did not help the match at all either, because I'm still not sold on him. I'm not sold on this guy at all. I like him when he did MMA, but I'm not sold on him as a wrestling announcer. But yeah, it was just one of those things. I'm like, what the hell? And then the whole the Jedi mind tricks thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm done with you. Thank you, Vince, for ruining my life. But dude, it's just like you had so many opportunities to make this better. It could have been so much better. But you first off, you ran the whole gimmick into the fucking ground in the first place, which didn't help it. Then you can repeatedly do stupid things to make this even more stupid. Like, and where was Lily in all this? If she's such a possessed doll, where the hell was she in all this?
Well, she's been suspended, Trevor, for 90 days for substance abuse issues. I don't know. I hate. I don't care. I don't care. Keep the doll off TV. Look,
exactly.
Dude, with this, I love Alexa. Alexa Bliss actually is my favorite.
She's super talented.
She is my favorite. She's my favorite female performer, and she's one of my favorite overall performers there is. Right.
Right.
Like, I am a mark for Alexa Bliss because I think she's the best promo. Actually, probably like second or third best promo in the company, if we're talking real. And whatever she does, she actually makes it work, except this. This is not working.
And her matches are normally entertaining. I haven't.
She's a great worker.
Honest. I haven't seen a very, and I don't know if it has something to do, because I know she has had some illnesses in the past, and I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. But I haven't seen a super entertaining match from her for a while now. And I'll be honest, for a while now, since maybe the tag team matches.
A lot of so here's the thing. She was going through injuries and illnesses like you talked about the past few years. But go back and watch. I think it was the first SmackDown pay-per-view after the WWE draft in 2016. I think she was in a match for I think it was the SmackDown Women's title or maybe it was a qualifier at the pay-per-view, and she killed it. She knocked it out of the park. Like, that was Alexa Bliss's, she became a made woman in that match. And we already knew she was a great talker. And then she became a great worker. She had great matches with Ronda Rousey. She went everything she does usually is great. And Shayna Baszler as well. Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss should be a great match. It should not have been whatever the fuck we saw last week. There shouldn't have been lights flickering. There shouldn't have been voodoo magic. There shouldn't have been Reginald. No Reginald. There should not have been Reginald. like this was just bad.
And this is just another example of WWE ruining wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to say it quite like that because that sounds really super harsh, but look what they did to Asuka. I mean, look, prime example. Look what they did to Asuka. Like, Asuka comes out now, sometimes looks like a blithering idiot. And Asuka's probably one of the most talented women on the roster. Like, it's a shame. It's just a shame.
Yep. Negative 5 stars. Never want to see it again. Reboot Raw. Moving on, let's talk about Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn.
7,406.
Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, part 85. And the never-ending feud between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn wrote its latest chapter, not its last. These guys just had a match at WrestleMania, and then their feud stopped. And now they're okay. So anyway, we saw Sami Zayn pick up the win, and I thought it was actually a pretty good. I thought this was a pretty good match. It was fine because whenever you see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a match, it's gonna be a good match. Yeah. Was it their best match? I don't think so. Anyway, so Owens nursed his arm for most of the match. They speculated an injury on commentary. He's gonna be out for the next number of weeks, so it might be injury related. He would mount a valiant offense back, but then a bloodied Sami Zayn sprinted across the ring to deliver a haluva kick to win the match. Zayn beating Owens clean.
Yep.
What do we think of that, Trevor?
Again, like you said, and we've said previous weeks before, because they wrestled in WrestleMania, they have good programs together. Their promos are normally pretty good. The match is normally good. The moves are spot on. Like, they do well together. They really do complement each other very well. With that being said, I think there's such a thing as too much of a good thing. And I think at this point, it's done. Like, I know you have your purists that are, ooh, fight forever. No.
Kevin Dunn piping in the crowd noise. When Kevin Dunn pipes in "Fight Forever" crowd noise in the Thunderdome, that's when I just lose. There's only so much like suspension of disbelief that can happen in one time. Like that's just stop. Anyway,
it's done.
continue.
Like, it's done at this point. Like, I mean, like I said, yeah, it wasn't a bad match. Like, honestly, it really wasn't a bad match. It's just one of those things that I'm just done seeing it. It was a good match. I'll give it like maybe a 3 or 4 out of 5. But it's just, I'm just done. I'm just tired of seeing it. Like,
CM Punk once said in an interview that he thought that him and Daniel Bryan, after their initial feud in WWE, should have been like on separate brands, should not have been anywhere near each other for like next few years.
right.
Because that's like a feud you can always go back to. That's a feud you can always do, and it'll make money. This feud specifically with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn is not making any money.
No.
They're wasting this. They are wasting this feud. They are wasting its shelf life. And like, look, they could go WrestleMania. I was fine with it because Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. Hell yeah, make it happen. Yeah. Let's do it. That's great.
Absolutely.
Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at Hell in a Cell, not in a Hell in a Cell match, but in a singles match at Hell in a Cell. Like literally what 3 weeks before you go in the Thunderdome, but 3 weeks before you go live in front of fans.
Yep.
Why not at least wait till SummerSlam? Like why not at least
exactly.
wait till
like,
you guys
build it up to
money?
something like. Build it up to something really climactic and really intense, and put it in a Hell in a Cell then, or make it a no falls count anywhere, something like that. Like,
dude, just make a business decision. Damn it! Like, come on, it's
just waste it.
These are two of your best workers in the company, and you just like did a throwaway match that wasn't. If we're being honest, it wasn't even as good as these two can do it, because these two are two of the best in the world, but. Anyway.
Yep.
Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Raw Women's title. They just need to find a way to condense these names of some of these titles. Like, anyway. The honey mustard barbecue title. Anyway, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for Rhea Ripley's WWE Raw Women's Championship was also meh on this card. Charlotte Flair ended up defeating Rhea Ripley via disqualification after Ripley threw the board on the announce table at Charlotte Flair, caused a DQ. And again, I don't know what they're doing with this. Both of them seem to be very obnoxious heels in this, and usually it doesn't work for a reason, but they're doing it, Trevor. What did you think about this match?
Yeah, it was funny. I was one of my buddies who knows I do this podcast, he was like, "Oh, so you gonna talk about Rhea Ripley's heel change?" I was like, "Heel turn? What are you talking about? She had a heel turn against Charlotte in Hell in a Cell." I was like, "Shut up."
she's been a heel since that match with Asuka. Like,
I was like, "Shut up, like, stop talking." Like, but no, it's just one of those matches that again was meh. I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, I mean, they both performed pretty well. It was just, like completely uninterested. Because, like you said, Charlotte has been completely annoying, and so has Ripley the past couple weeks. Like, I just wanted them both to lose. Like, honestly, I just didn't want to see him anymore. It was just one of those things. I'm just tired of it.
Asuka should have won that triple threat match, and they should have just moved on from there. Asuka should still be champion, but. Yeah, this was not great. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who's supposed to get over. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about this anymore because we're probably going to be talking about it until SummerSlam anyway. Because it looks like they're going to do a rematch at Money in the Bank because Rhea Ripley got called. By the way, Rhea Ripley got called out. She was like, "Oh, how dare you abuse this disqualification rule? Because it's champion's advantage. If the champion gets disqualified, they keep the belt. Right. How dare you abuse this?" That's what Adam Pearce said on Raw, and I was just like, dude, literally every heel in the history of wrestling has tried this. And which is why I actually appreciate what AEW does with this. And I know it's like a slippery slope, right? But I actually do like the way AEW's done this, where it's like if the heel champion tries to get disqualified, like we'll go watch the Revolution match with Jericho and Mox. If the heel champion tries to do that, the ref will just be like, the ref won't disqualify them outright, but they'll try to get control of the situation. So, but no, in WWE, there has to be a way out. There always has to be a way out. But
there's always a way out. because it's a pay-per-view. No way out.
All right, moving on. Let's try to find our way out of this pay-per-view. Bobby Lashley defended his WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell. It was fine. I'm sorry. I'm so over this pay-per-view. It was fine.
It wasn't that great.
We saw a ref bump where McIntyre accidentally hit the ref with a steel chair. MVP unlocked the door, broke up a pinfall attempt, and then as McIntyre tries to hit the Claymore kick, MVP distracts him, and we saw Lashley win with a cheap roll-up. 1, 2, 3. Lashley retains his title, and Drew McIntyre will not be able to challenge for the WWE Championship as long as Lashley is champion. Also, big caveat, even if Drew ends up winning the Money in the Bank, he can't challenge Bobby Lashley.
Nope.
So that's actually a big caveat that I learned. So, Trevor, what did you think about this match?
Meh. Meh. I mean,
Big Bang and meh. This whole pay-per-view, just meh.
I mean, at this point, you've seen Drew and Lashley fight like maybe 3-4 times. And you're like, I mean, I'm actually surprised you didn't have the same match that you have on Raw every freaking week with McIntyre fighting against either Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston or a number of the other people he fights. Like, it's just, oh my God. It's just, why, WWE? Why do you do this? Why do you make it so easy to hate you?
Yeah, and this was okay. It accomplished something. That hey, look on the bright side. It accomplished something. Now we know about that Drew McIntyre will not be challenging Bobby Lashley next month at Money in the Bank. It will, however, be your boy, or my boy, Kofi Kingston challenging Bobby Lashley at Money in the Bank. So it's nice to see Kofi finally get a WWE title match against.
Yeah, it is. But
somebody.
they're not gonna let him win it, so it doesn't matter. But
Could you imagine if they squashed him like they did with Lesnar?
I was so pissed off at that. I was so pissed off by that.
That was like, they had to do it on Smackdown. Like, I get it. They were trying to pop a rating or whatever. And
I get it, but like, you know how many people were pissed at that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's also the end goal, right? I'm not as mad about Kofi losing the title per se to Lesnar. I just wish they had built it up as a bigger thing because they didn't build it up at all. They just said, "Oh, Kofi Kingston got me challenging Brock Lesnar."
I was mad at the way they did it. You know, I was mad at the way they did it and the fact that there was no build up, and then also the fact Kofi barely had it for 8 months, if he had it that long. Like,
I mean that's the thing too. I would much rather have seen them. If you were gonna do it, I would much rather have seen them do the whole John Cena thing, like build it up at a pay-per-view, build it up at like Survivor Series or whatever, or even like not even Survivor Series, at a pay-per-view. Don't build it up on SmackDown. Build it up at a pay-per-view, and then like you can have Brock decimate Kofi for like 10 minutes, like Kofi gets maybe 1 or 2 offensive moves in, have him decimated, but make him look like a fighting champion.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That was my thing the whole time. And then he didn't get his title match back, which I think a lot of people were like they could have done something there, but they didn't because I don't know. I can't explain it.
It was just a lot. It was one of those things that I didn't agree with. But
yep. So was this pay-per-view, and I am so thankful we are done talking about this. Hell in a Cell 2021 is in the books. Yeah, any last thoughts on this pay-per-view? What did you think about the lack of Roman Reigns on this pay-per-view? And then, yeah, what did you think about that?
I think it actually hurt it, honestly. I do. I mean, I understand why, but I think it I think it hurt it, honestly, because it was a weak pay-per-view. It really was.
You know what would have saved this pay-per-view? Dominik Mysterio falling off the cell. Dominik Mysterio being thrown off the cell. I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you. That was a thumbnail for my preview video, for the Hell in a Cell preview video we did. It was literally, I put Dominik getting thrown off the cell as the preview thumbnail. And I was so excited. I was like, all right, we're going to see on Father's Day. Dude, they didn't even have him wrestle. I'm so mad. It's Father's Day, and they did nothing with the father and son tag team champions they have.
They did nothing with it. It was actually quite
It's right there. It's the. I'm patient. I swear with WWE, I'm patient. I watch Raw every week, by the way. Don't ever. I don't want anyone to ever say, "Oh, you don't even watch them." I watch Raw every week.
I watch the highlights every week. I don't watch.
I don't. I have to. I watch. I subject myself to 3 hours a week.
See, I like myself. That's why I don't do it.
I do. I like you too, buddy. Anyway, what Hell in a Cell. Goodbye. Hey, if you guys haven't already, though, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe button so that you also get notified whenever new episodes are released for the audio version. Trevor, let's move on and talk about NBC and Fox being unhappy with WWE. So, NBC Universal and Fox, WWE's two broadcast partners, are reportedly both unhappy with some of the decisions made by the promotion in recent weeks. WWE presents both Monday Night Raw and NXT on USA Network, which is owned by NBC, while the WWE Network has been exclusively also on NBC's Peacock platform. We also know that Smackdown, of course, as you can see by this wonderful graphic right here, is on Fox. According to Dave Meltzer, NBC were unhappy that WWE removed the Universal Hell in a Cell championship match, the Universal Championship match from Hell in a Cell between Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio, and it moved it to Fox on SmackDown. They were set to stream it on Peacock, so they were obviously mad that the biggest attraction on the pay-per-view was taken away. Fox, on the other hand, also had an issue with WWE regularly promoting Peacock on SmackDown, and there were apparently numerous individuals from Fox who were unhappy with the situation in general, with both Fox and NBC finding problems with WWE's recent times. Vince McMahon is apparently having to play a balancing act in order to keep both these broadcast platforms content and partners happy. Trevor, what do we think of this? That Fox is unhappy with WWE promoting their pay-per-views that are on Peacock, and then apparently USA, NBC, they're unhappy with WWE moving Roman Reigns off of Hell in a Cell. What do you just make of all this drama that's playing out with their broadcast partners?
I mean, well, so I can kind of understand why Fox is upset to a degree. I mean, NBC isn't too pissed off. I mean, because they have Peacock, things like that. But I don't know. It feels like a lot of unnecessary drama, but it also feels like all of the promotions all of the networks feel like this promotion isn't like living up to the hype, living up to their bargain, so to speak. And I can definitely understand why Raw is pissed off, because ratings have been dropping.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that segment we were talking about, that Alexa Bliss segment a few weeks ago, 1.4 million, which is like bad for Raw.
I mean, I can understand why USA has a gripe with Raw at the moment, because I mean they haven't been meeting their obligation by bringing viewers like they have been in the past. So USA has a legit gripe. I guess, I mean, Fox does to a degree too, but like. Not really. Like, I mean, we're owned by this company too. Like, we got to make money outside of you besides just on your network. So, tough tits.
No, I agree. So specifically with Fox, I mean, so here's the thing with Fox. I kind of get why they would be, annoyed by the whole Peacock situation. But at the end of the day, that's WWE. They got to promote their product. They got to promote their pay-per-views. They're gonna, right. And they have $1 billion deal with Peacock. They'd be stupid not to. So you can't really blame WWE for that. Fox can be annoyed all they want. If Fox wants to be upset about, certain matches and certain things that WWE is doing that might not be drawing as big ratings as they want, that's a whole separate issue. But with NBC, I totally get why they're upset, right? Because you were promoting this match. Roman Reigns is right now the biggest star in WWE. You're promoting this big match with him and Rey Mysterio on Father's Day, and for Hell in a Cell on this pay-per-view that's going to be on your platform on Peacock. and you move it over to SmackDown, which is on Fox, which is not owned by NBC, so Raw isn't even getting that boost. So yeah, I would get why they'd be upset by it, and I'd get why fans would be upset because look, what happened when they moved that Roman Reigns, Rey Mysterio Hell in a Cell to SmackDown? The pay-per-view immensely lost its value.
Yep.
So naturally, less people are probably going to go check it out. If Roman Reigns, who is the biggest star in the company, the biggest champion in the company, Rey Mysterio, one of the biggest crossover champions in WWE history, is not on the card. If that's not happening, then you're going to see less traffic on there. So that makes sense. They should be. Now, my other question going off of this is, do you think WWE potentially by this could be pressured into putting out a better product, or is it just, this just like a cycle it's going to continue?
Honestly, I think they could be pressured. I mean, and I hope that's actually what happens. To be honest, I hope that's what happens because I don't want to see a trending cycle of this. You know what I mean? To be fair to all the fans out there that watch us, I do not hate WWE. I honestly want what's best for WWE. I want WWE to do better. But the truth of the matter is, like, watching wrestling as long as I've had, through the Attitude Era, through the good, through the bad, this is probably the worst that I've seen WWE. And like like I've seen Raws that were bad, but these are almost unwatchable. So, like, I really do hope that, and I'm sure every other fan hopes too, that they get some pressure to try to put out better products. Do what you have to do. Get rid of the creative team. Like give raises if you have to. Like, do something to.
Oh well, they're giving raises. Like, Nick Khan, man, out here, he's getting paid like $13 million to fire everybody. So he's getting a raise, all right.
He's getting was it $1 million for every person he hires?
There we go. Amazing financial strategy, Nick.
But no, like, seriously, like I honestly hope this does make them want to do better, especially since they're coming back to doing tours. Maybe that'll help too.
Yeah, maybe. And I hope so. I'm optimistic that eventually WWE will get its act together, especially like let's say after when AEW goes back on the road and they end up doing hopefully better numbers, because we know one thing, that AEW crowd in itself is an attraction for people who are watching at home. Like, when the crowd is great, wrestling is better and more people tune in. So maybe I think that might. So we'll have to see how that plays out and how I think as AEW gets better. Who knows, man? Like, those Raw numbers, like, this is not hyperbole. The Raw numbers lately have been very low. And I know they don't go direct head-to-head competition. And I'm not saying if they did that AEW would win. I don't think they would at this point.
No.
But regardless, for WWE to be the mainstay, the institution of, professional wrestling at this point, and having, like, numbers that are sub 2 million every week for their main show, it's an issue. And if I'm NBC and I'm paying all this money for this product, I'd be unhappy. And even with SmackDown, which is a great show, still only doing around 2 million. Fox gave them a lot of money too. I think Fox is looking for big returns from these shows, and we're not getting them. And they're not getting them, and they're upset, obviously, and they should be. So it must be frustrating for them. But as AEW gets better, I think you got to look to NBC and USA being like, hey, why is Time Warner doing better? Why is this other company that's not even affiliated with your product that has this other wrestling product doing just as good as Raw, or just under? I don't know if they're gonna get to 2 million within the next 6 months. I think that could happen like a year or two from now, because they're showing a consistent growth. But I don't know, man. You gotta, at some point, WWE has to really think about going back to the basics of wrestling. I know they're not a wrestling company. I know Nick Khan doesn't want to say they're a wrestling company. They're sports entertainment. But at some point, they have to.
They're not even entertaining, though.
Yes, thank you. At this point, you're not even sports. You're not entertainment. You're just meh. You're hell in a meh. Yeah. So I hope that they fix whatever's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, NXT is starting to suffer from it too, though.
Oh yeah, NXT was pretty. Yeah, man. WW meh. Rename the
It's
company.
starting to
WWE
suffer
man.
from it too.
Yeah. Again, I hope they figure it out. I really hope they figure it out. Moving on, Trevor.
No.
Rah rah rah.
I don't know what that was. I apologize.
I don't know what that was either, but I like that. I like that. As
I
my mom
like
would say.
that.
I like that. All right, let's move on, Trevor, and talk about WWE holding Hell in a Cell matches. You know how many Hell in a Cell matches we had over the past 4 days, Trevor?
Oh,
We had 4 Hell in a Cell matches in 4 days. 1 on SmackDown, 2 on Sunday on Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view, and 1 on Raw. WWE once again presented a Hell in the Cell match on free-to-view television on Monday Night Raw as WWE Champion Bobby Lashley faced Xavier Woods in a non-title match. So that's something. According to PW Insider, WWE's reasoning for having the Hell in a Cell match on broadcast TV on Raw was the same for having it on SmackDown just a few days ago, in that the promotion wished to give their partner network, something a little extra and special. The company also saw an advantage of having Hell in a Cell featured on Raw in hopes that it would help grab fans' attention ahead of their return to touring next month. Trevor. 4 Hell in a Cell matches in the matter of 4 days, 2 on free pay-per-view. Is Hell in a Cell the concept too watered down at this point to be viable?
I think so, and I think we touched on that last week actually, because when you first started Hell in a Cell, right? First Hell in a Cell, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, right? Like it was to settle a blood feud, right? These two human beings supposedly hated each other. They've been attacking each other for weeks, doing this, blah blah. Shawn been running from Undertaker. This is the only way to keep him stationary, to keep him in the fight, right? Hell in a Cell, and it was brilliant. Like you bring it up every once in a while. You have a big match in it. Like you have two people that can't stand each other, destroy each other. Like it's a great match. It's a great crowd draw, fan draw. Now you have a pay-per-view that's dedicated to it. Okay, cool. But just put one match in it, right? Just put one match in the Hell in a Cell. Every match does not need to be in Hell in a Cell. More than one match doesn't need to be in it. It change. It's like having a elimination chamber match like throughout the whole pay-per-view. Like you have
well, I mean, oh my God, we've never seen that before.
Unfortunately, we have.
We saw 3. You know, we saw 3 in one night once. It was like they had a tag team one,
like 2
one for
years
the
ago, right?
Yeah, they had the tag team one, the Raw one, and the SmackDown one. That was. Yeah, I think, dude, these stipulation pay-per-views, these stipulation matches are getting too watered down for WWE. It's becoming parody. It's because they're becoming a parody of what they once were, and that's never a good thing. I understand WWE. The ratings are falling on Raw. Let's give them a Hell in a Cell match, a throwaway Hell in a Cell match that wasn't even advertised, mind you. This is 48 hours after the fact. No one who wasn't gonna watch Raw is gonna watch Raw like after you announce a Hell in a Cell match at the beginning of Raw. No one's gonna watch Raw for that. Like that's something you have to do in advance, and they didn't do it. Like the SmackDown one worked because they apparently announced it in advance, but
and plus it was for a belt too. Like this was just for nothing.
This was for nothing. There's Xavier Woods in a Hell in a Cell match. Like it was fine. Again, it was fine. I'm not like saying these aren't good matches, but they don't accomplish anything. They don't do anything except water down the stipulation. Hell in a Cell was supposed to be one of the most dangerous, diabolical structures designed to punish the human body. And what ended up happening? It's nothing. People just have like random singles matches, and like there's no destruction. There's no like threats. Oh my God, Shane McMahon falls off Hell in a Cell twice a year. Come on. This shouldn't be something I'm looking forward to happening like every like 4 times a year or whatever. Like it should be something that happens when it's needed, and that's the thing. WWE, it's this weird thing of when a company goes too corporate, right? When you go too corporate, everything becomes about, the bottom line, not only the bottom line, but everything becomes novelty. And when that happens, Trevor, you see that it's not so much about, what the goals are. The goal becomes, we have this thing. Let's sell, sell, sell. Let's sell more money. Let's get more money. And Hell in a Cell is basically that. It's just, oh, well, we have this pay-per-view. We are robots. Hell in a Cell. Oh, we're going to put championship matches in there that don't need to be in there. Like, and then Hell in a Cell means less. And then when you have a serious feud that could use a Hell in a Cell match, and you do it in there, you're just kind of like, okay, cool. Like I point to a few years ago, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose had a Hell in a Cell match, which I think that feud needed that match, and they started to have a really good match, and then what happened, and they ruined it because not only the finish, but it was also because Hell in a Cell wasn't the same as what it used to be. It's not the same as when Shawn Michaels had the match against Undertaker at Bad Blood 97. It's not the same as Triple H versus Chris Jericho, Judgment Day 03. It's not the same as Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels and Triple H at Bad Blood 2004. It's not, the stipulation doesn't fit the feuds because the feuds don't fit the stipulation. And it's a very easy concept to grasp, you would like to think. But that's not what WWE's main priority is. And WWE's main priority is to have this pay-per-view by hook or by crook, no matter what. And the sad part is, if you know you're going to do this, you would think they would at least build feuds to the point where they need to be like this heated and intense at this point in the calendar year. But they don't even do that. They don't even do the bare minimum. So,
are there truly any feuds right now? Any ones that make sense?
Like in the main on the main roster, You could say that like Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley have had a fine feud. Like that's a pretty good feud. You could say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't think they've treated that one the way they should have, honestly.
Like Sheamus and Ricochet has been weird, but that's also a feud. I don't necessarily like it, but it is a feud that happened.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, there aren't any like true feuds that you're like, oh wow, that stands out. You know, that makes sense. Like. You're actually want to see the climax too, you know?
Roman Reigns versus everybody. Acknowledge it.
Well, at this point, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, like that's like the most by far what Roman Reigns and him and the Usos are doing. That's by far, I think, the most entertaining thing in wrestling, not wrestling, but in WWE right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, they have that, but there's not really much like that match he had with. It was Jey Uso, right? Yeah, with Jey Uso last year at Hell in a Cell. That was great.
That was a good match. It deserved the Hell in a Cell. It deserved it.
Yep. The stipulation fit the feud, and the feud fit the stipulation. That was good, and they made it dramatic. They made it. They made it mean something.
Well, that's the same way with Sasha Banks and Bayley. That one deserved it too. It was a fine match. Fine match in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, but. We'll have to see what happens with this, man. Again, it's one of those things. I'm sad that Hell in a Cell has become Hell in a Shell of itself because it used to be something you would be excited for. Like when you would hear, the GM or whoever announce it's gonna be in Hell in a Cell, that's what you'd get goosebumps. You'd feel something. You'd be like, oh, we're about to see something special,
Right.
And instead, it's just.
I'm more entertained now because I haven't seen one in a while in a cage match.
Oh, still Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 38 or 37 didn't do it for you?
No. I mean, probably because Braun is stupid. According to Shane.
This is the worst, dude. There are bad wrestling. That might have been the worst WrestleMania feud and build I've ever seen. He's stupid, and then they cut him. They called him stupid, then they cut him.
Then they cut him. Yep.
Then they cut him. All right. We're moving on. Let's talk about something positive about WWE for once, man, and that is new set designs. Last month, the rumor mill included a tidbit that the WWE will be refreshing their set designs fairly soon. WWE is returning to the road on July 16th, and it certainly looks like that is going to be the case. In an interview with Below the Line, WWE's lead production designer Jason Robinson explained that the new set designs are on their way. Quote, We're heading out on the road come July 16th. We're coming to Houston, Texas on SmackDown, and then we're headed right to pay-per-view at Money in the Bank, which is our favorite pay-per-view of the year. Lots of ladders and with a briefcase hanging over the ring. So we have 2 Money in the Bank briefcase matches, and then he goes to plug Money in the Bank. And here's the big tidbit. We're headed forward, so we're looking at new sets, new staging that we are building. My next phone call is with the graphics department, talking about the augmented reality and how that is going to be incorporated, and how we're going to make some really cool graphics for set entrances as our superstars enter. So, Trevor, it's happening again. WWE is getting new sets. They're trying something different with the graphics and the augmented reality and whenever. So that's cool. What would you like to see out of the new sets that WWE are going to create for fans when they come back? What's something you would like to see?
I will say this, like, especially as far as SmackDown is concerned, they're not like, as far as color, they're pretty vibrant. That bright blue that they use, I've always liked. Maybe do a little something with the SmackDown logo, not completely change it, but make it a little brighter, like stand out in your face. Like, I mean, it's been there for a while now. It's a fixture. You don't want to change it, but you want something, to make it pop. Because honestly, I think everything needs an overhaul right now, because maybe that'll also help the product too. You never know. A clean coat of paint, maybe some different set, maybe some different opening music, like we were talking offline earlier. Like Raw and SmackDown used to have catchy opening songs, opening themes. Sometimes you don't always know the words, but you remember.
Thorn in your eye. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that'll help as well. I would like to see more of that, like more of what brought you to the big dance, and to keep you in it. I don't think they should change, like keep changing because it's not helping now. Just do what helped you out before, like a catchy theme song, some great graphics, bright colors. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I know every time this gets talked about amongst wrestling fans, the one thing everyone goes to is bring back the fist. Just bring back the fist. Just do it. Look.
Exactly.
Exactly. Dude, this is like it's easy. You want wrestling fans to care about SmackDown like habitually, bring back the fist. This is something wrestling fans have been wanted for a long time. That it was the best part about any set, like even the Raw, the big Titantron, that was cool. But the fist on SmackDown, everyone loved that. Everyone loved that. It doesn't even have to be the same fist. It was the best part about any set they've had. It was arguably the best set that they've ever had for any show they've done. And I think bringing that back would really make people interested and care. That being said, Trevor, the one thing I've noticed, this always happens every few years. They have a draft and they change the colors and they change the sets and everything's they rebrand and they're like, oh, look at this bigger, better than ever. And then they forget about it. How soon do you think until they just forget about this and make everything the same again? Because we've seen that happen constantly. After the 2016 draft, we saw the sets change, the logo change, and everything, get a little bit of a makeover. And then 6 months later, pay-per-views are double branded again. And the music is somehow generic again. And then the sets are pretty much the same with very small alterations again. And then we saw it happen with the pandemic, although they're running shows in a Thunderdome. I don't blame them for changing that. So how long do you think until they...
Do you honestly think they're going to do that again, though? I don't think they are, honestly. I don't think they're going to change to the 2 different brands and just singular brand. I don't think they're going to do that again because, like you said...
Oh, no, they're not going to... Well, they're not going to do that, I'm saying. But, how long do you think until we see the sets just become, pretty much the same thing with small variations?
A month. Maybe.
Less hope than me. That's saying something.
I mean, the thing is, though, here's the thing. Maybe, just maybe, let's hope they have some type of sense, right? and
let's hope the company that's been producing wrestling since the 1940s and 50s has a little bit of sense about what their fans want. Let's hope.
I mean, obviously they don't, because Raw is fucking unwatchable. Fucking Hell in a Cell was garbage. Like, let's just hope. I mean, I have a bunch of evidence that prove my theory might be correct. But no, I mean, look, what I mean is, like, let's just hope that they take after the pandemic, whatever, and get a chance to like revamp and reinvigorate everything, and maybe it'll help a little bit. Because honestly, it couldn't hurt at this point.
You know what would help? If they just rebooted everything. Like Raw.
Just
you know what? Raw, that's what you know. What? Honestly, no, don't do it with SmackDown. Do it with Raw. For Raw, reboot all your storylines. I'm dead serious. No, like I know Nitro did it.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I know Nitro did it right, and they got a lot of flack for it because, like, let's be honest, the storylines they did afterwards weren't that good anyway. But have just like, I want Vince McMahon to open the show and be like, "Look, I'm sorry." He should just say, "I'm sorry. We're starting fresh with this one. It's gonna hit complete reset, new, like, everything you've remembered over the past 2 years. Forget it." Just forget it.
Yeah, just restart the whole thing.
Just start it. Just restart the whole thing, and because they do it all the time anyway. Look what they did with Aleister Black. He cost Big E the Intercontinental title, and then he gets cut the next day. And then what's Big E supposed to do? You know what they're doing with Big E though, right? He's being moved over to Raw. Apparently after the draft, that's when he's gonna return, and he's gonna be over there. He's gonna be on the same brand as the New Day, except he's not gonna be with the New Day. God. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
You mentioned the SmackDown fist. I remember when I was younger, huge wrestling fan. I had a wrestling ring, and I had this SmackDown wrestling ring, and I had the little walk down ramp. And actually, that big fist was part of what came in the ring with the set. And that was actually the coolest part of that particular set, because I already had the Titantron anyway, so I added it to that. And when they would step on it, you hear the entrance music, but you can also connect the fist to it, which was pretty cool. And I remember that as being probably the coolest ring WWE ever had, except the old cloth ones back when I was born.
Yeah, right? Yeah, with the little rubber ropes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the wooden ring posts.
Mm-hmm. Yo, those were. Yeah,
those were cool.
That was back before they changed everything to cheap plastic. Everything's plastic now.
Yeah,
it's cheap.
Those wrestling rings were so cool.
Yeah,
they were so cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. You know what's also cool? You guys, the fans listening right now, for liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. Also, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to give us a 5-star review.
You didn't see me wave, but I said I waved to everyone.
He waved and he put 5 fingers up, so you guys can give us a 5-star review. Let's move on and talk about something that is pretty cool, Trevor, and that is the great one,
yes,
The Rock. WWE reportedly want The Rock back for Survivor Series. Survivor Series 2021 will be the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut. In 1996, he debuted as Rocky Maivia. We all remember the big "Die Rocky Die" chants back then, and he eventually got over and became one of the biggest stars in wrestling history. Reports over a potential return to the ring for the Great One in particular, for a huge bout with Roman Reigns, have circulated for a while, but it appears that we could see a comeback from the Brahma Bull pretty soon. WrestlingNews.co are reporting that WWE are holding out hope that The Rock would actually want to wrestle this year at Survivor Series. Trevor, what do you think about this report? I thought this was interesting because we hear rumors that The Rock might return a lot, but I think we know that Roman Reigns is catching a lot of fire. This was a big feud that The Rock has even said, he would like to come back one day. He said this a few years ago. They would like to come back one day to potentially face Roman Reigns at some point. We know that he's wanted to do another match. You would think that the 25th anniversary of his debut might be the place to do it. What do you think about this report, and who should face it? Should it be Roman Reigns?
So, like you said, I remember hearing rumors about him coming back maybe like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I feel like there's a new rumor about some older like wrestling legend, like every year, and I feel like it happens multiple times a year too. But like I've heard rumors about it as well. Honestly, at this point, like having him come back, because he has mentioned in the past, he's mentioned on I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, he's mentioned on Instagram and his Twitter, several different interviews that he would love to come back, at least for one match. You know, and now he's also doing the autobiography sitcom of his life, which was actually pretty good. And more people who didn't know about Rock are getting more in depth into his life, and I think right now would be a great time to have him in WWE. I mean, you want your fans boost up, you want your viewers boost up, you want your ratings and all that good stuff. I think this would do it. Now, who should he face? Roman to me is a front runner right now. Roman is definitely a front runner. I mean, could you see him fighting Bobby Lashley?
No. Lashley's more tailor-made. That's more a tailor-made thing for
Brock Lesnar.
Lesnar. That's a Lesnar thing.
Yeah. I don't think that's a good one. No. So honestly, I think Roman is the front runner. Honestly, I think that's
so
the
too.
Best person.
And there's a few things that kind of hint towards that. One, Roman's on Smackdown, which is, as we all know, the Rock show, right?
Rock show.
The other thing that I think factors into it way more is the connection that Roman Reigns has with the Rock. And look, fantasy booking, you could easily do an angle where the Rock's 25th anniversary special is at Survivor Series, and everyone comes out. Roman Reigns comes out, congratulates him, holds his hand high, and then turns his back on him and beats the living hell out of The Rock. And you could have that lead to a long-term match into WrestleMania in Dallas.
Right. Right.
By the way, completely off the cuff there. like that was just me shooting the breeze. And
you sure you're not a booker?
Booker, I don't even. Anyway, moving on. But in all seriousness, I do think that this feud with Roman Reigns is the best thing for The Rock. It's the best thing for Roman Reigns, and it would be a great thing for wrestling because you would get to see Roman Reigns kind of elevated on a even bigger stage, along with John Cena, along with The Rock, along with these big guys, and then that would be a big moment. And as far as anyone else, there really is no one else The Rock could face. If we're being honest, if we're being very honest, there's no one else. The familial connection is there for the Roman Reigns. It would heighten his claim as the head of the table, the tribal chief. It would heighten his claim even more, and you could do a little bit of a family dynamic too. Oh my God, Trevor, I should be writing for WWE. But like in all seriousness, like these are very easy things to draw from, and you could have a match like for them to see who is the real head of the table for that family, and these are easy things you could do. And as far as will it happen, we know that The Rock is by far one of the busiest people in the world, right? Yeah. The dude apparently barely, but I think if the moment was right, and thinking long term, I think The Rock would do it. I think he would do it for this match, because there's no really other match he would do it for, and
no really other match for him, honestly.
And we know this. The Rock is someone, he's not one of those guys who's doesn't want to do wrestling. The Rock he's come out of retirement rather to do wrestling, and he's actually even hurt his prior acting commitments before. Remember at that match in 2013 with Cena, he tore his abdomen and everything during that match, and that set back his shooting for Pain and Gain by a few months. So he's willing to do that, and I think if he can get that confirmation a year out, which is right now, if they can work something out, I think you could see The Rock wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38. I think that's when it would happen. Survivor Series for me, though, is kind of pushing it. I don't think it's going to happen that early.
No, I think that's when the build-up's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If they do it right, that's when the build-up should happen. That's when the build-up will happen. But no, it'd be interesting to see The Rock again. I mean, like I said, off air, I was a huge Rock fan growing up. Like, I mean, who wasn't? Like, you had to like the guy. So, I mean, it'd be nice to see him cut some of his legendary promos and be The Rock again.
Yes, yes, it would. Yes, it would. Let's continue with this WWE. There's a lot of WWE news this week, but
A
before we
whole
do
lot.
that, as I always say, like, share, subscribe. Give us 5 stars. All right. Let's keep it going, and Trevor, and let's talk about another potential return, but from a WWE Hall of Famer, or at least a WWE legend, and that is Edge. Edge could be returning fairly soon. WWE reportedly is planning a huge match, the first time ever match between Seth Rollins and the Rated R superstar Edge at this year's SummerSlam event. WWE is rumored to be making SummerSlam a WrestleMania-esque card as the promotion seeks to turn the biggest party of the year into the biggest event of the year. It was recently reported that WWE has plans for Edge to wrestle at SummerSlam as a good guy, as a babyface, and the Radar Superstar is advertised to return when Smackdown goes back on the road on July 16th. Edge hasn't been seen on WWE TV since losing in that triple threat match against Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Trevor, what do you think about Edge's return? And more importantly, what do you think about his return apparently being with Rollins as his first opponent back?
Oh man, I think his return is a little late, honestly. But I understand why they did it. I get exactly why they did it. But I can't wait to see him in the ring again. Is a fan of his. And I know there are a lot of Edge heads out there that have been waiting to see him back. So put it like this: I like Seth Rollins. We talked about how talented he is. He's a great wrestler. What he's doing now, I don't think he will give Edge the caliber of match that he possibly can, because he can give a good match. Typically, he's a great worker. He's a great athlete, great performer. He can typically give 6, 7 star performing matches, but I don't think he's capable of it right now. I don't know what again, don't know what the disconnect is, don't know what's going on with him, but I don't know if he can give that type of match with Edge when that's the type of match you have to give to make this match special.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination because on paper this match is great. I think, like on
Right.
paper, it's a good matchup. Their styles clash very well together. I think it's be a good test for Edge for his return. Um, but I think you're right in that Seth Rollins currently in the current state he's in, the current gimmick, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a very weird
Yeah.
dynamic because nothing he's done, even no matter who he wrestles, whether it be Roman Reigns, whether it be Cesaro, whether it be Rey Mysterio, a lot of what he's done since he won at WrestleMania 37 has fallen flat, or sorry, 35, right, against Brock Lesnar. Everything after that, it's been pretty flat. And the one thing I worry about is you're trying to build up this big card for SummerSlam. You have to be able to go all out and you have to be able to build it up like it's going to be a big match. That's the problem I
Right.
have. And it's not so much with Seth Rollins. I think a lot of the problems that Seth Rollins has had over the past 2 years have not been self-inflicted by him, but rather in the situations that WWE have put him. You know, we talked about it, gouging Rey Mysterio's eye out, and then throwing up, and then cutting promo, and then all that stuff, and looking overall like a very very weird character, and not taking advantage of the Monday Night Messiah gimmick as much as they probably should have. So a lot of this stuff can be fixed pretty easily by basic wrestling booking. You know, you can
Right.
even drop all the Monday Night Messiah crap or the Friday Night Messiah, whatever he is, and just go straight up like, Edge, you were my favorite wrestler growing up, and now I'm going to kick your ass. Simple. Very simple, but effective. And I think,
I
look,
mean, it will work well.
It would work very well. Like Seth Rollins, by the way, still one of the look, he's one of the more entertaining wrestlers that company has. There's a reason why he won the Royal Rumble. There's a reason why he beat Brock Lesnar in what was it, like 2 minutes at WrestleMania? And got over. He's still over. Like, so you have to do it right. You have to do it right, and you have to do it in a way that doesn't make him look like, a joke, because he's looked like a joke, let's be honest, for the past almost year. And you have to do it in a way that's also respectful to Edge, and not just his limitations, but also his status as someone who's on honestly his last big main event run in WWE.
Yeah, you don't know how much he has left in the tank, man. I mean, he's been hurt twice. Like he came back from the neck injury, and then at the quote unquote world's greatest wrestling match, got hurt, and then came back and run a Royal Rumble. But like,
what's funny? I'm sorry. You know what's funny about that match? I'm sorry, I have to say this. They taped that match. They like taped angles and shot, like they shot that like a movie.
Yeah, I know they did.
And Edge still wound up like tearing his shoulder. Like that's amazing. That is amazing. They could have had a stunt actor do it, like whatever he was gonna do. I'm sorry. Continue.
I understand.
It just baffles me to this day. To this day, it baffles me.
But no, like you don't know how much he has left in the tank. But yeah, I would love to see that match if it's done right.
Yeah, so would I. Let's see. Is there anyone else you would like to see wrestle Edge though? Like, is there anyone else like right now? Do you think that would be a good fit other than Reigns? Because we know Reigns would probably be a good fit for Edge to wrestle. We know that.
You know what?
That's like a ready-made kind of thing.
Would be a good one.
Really? Why do you say that?
So, and I say that because everyone knows Sami Zayn has done so many different things. El Generico,
allegedly,
he's done certain.
Allegedly.
Oh yeah, sorry, allegedly. He's been so personas, but like his and if you notice, his style changes. He never really wrestles the same. And I believe his spontaneous style matches very well with Edge, because he's not necessarily the best, the greatest technical wrestler. He's not the worst by a long shot, but he's not the best. But he does have some technicality to him, and he also can high fly when he wants to too. So I honestly think those two styles with him and Edge will mesh very well. And I think if you build but I think the problem will be the storyline now. I think that would be the problem of the match, not the performers, but the storyline to me will probably be the issue with that match.
I even think that's a very simple thing to do. To be honest with you, I think that's that like there's ready-made storylines.
Well, it's simple.
Like it's very simple. You like off the cuff one more time. You want to hear my storyline? You tell me what you think about this.
Absolutely, I think it's gonna work.
Sami Zayn has his whatever Sami segment. He's doing his little thing. He's like, today I'm gonna bring out Edge, and then Edge's music plays, and you see Dancing Sammy. Like by the way, Dancing Sammy, amazing. Love Dancing Sammy. It's the greatest thing ever.
I love Dancing
Sammy. Money. Anyway, but Sami Zayn, he has Edge on his show or whatever, and then you make Sami Zayn. He's been doing this amazing conspiracy theory gimmick for a long time now. Like they're shooting his documentary or whatever. I think it's great because eventually, it's funny and it's a joke, right? But eventually, you got to turn it serious, and you got to and you turn it, him into an egomaniac who's paranoid about people taking his spot. And what better way? And that's, I think, the opening right there. That's what you hone in on for the storyline if you do it between him and Edge. You have Sami Zayn attack Edge and like in a very maniacal way. Like Sami Zayn is broken. He is paranoid. He is. He thinks that Edge is here to steal his spot. He thinks this old timer, Edge, 40 whatever years old, is coming in and taking what's Sami Zayn's. He's part of this conspiracy theory that is being spread around WWE that is stifling Sami Zayn and his amazing talent. So what happens? What do they do? Sami Zayn attacks him and he says, "You are not going to take my spot. I'm better than you." and you know it. But you know, like there's, but you build it over that, and then he comes out and he says he has proof that Edge is conspiring with WWE to come in and take spots from younger people like him, and Sami Zayn should be in the spot that Edge is. It could be out of pure jealousy. It could be made out of pure ambition to be better than Edge. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but you make that turn happen.
As good as that is, do you think they've done that enough with him though? Because that's not the first time he's done something similar to that.
So here's the thing. I think they've done it in a more comedic way in the past.
Right.
And one thing we saw from this match at Kevin Owens, which is why I think this was the most underrated things we didn't get to talk about in our Hell in a Cell segment. But one of the most interesting things I saw from that, or noticed rather, from that pay-per-view was the fact that Sami Zayn looked very, like, in that match against Owens, it got pretty serious with him. Usually he's very comical and you know, it's whatever, but he looked serious, and he looked kind of like he's already crazy, but I think you saw the wheels turn a little bit, and I think you turn it all the way into him being crazy and dangerous.
Right.
Like, that's the way you make this feud with Edge better. And this by the way, off the cuff feud that we have fantasy allegedly. But that's how you make it better, I think.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I thought.
Also, they had great chemistry. Sami Zayn can literally work with any person and make it work.
Anyone.
He had great matches with Baron Corbin. By the way, we love Corbin. We love you and Constable Corbin and your little vest. We love that. But you don't like Corbin? I like Corbin.
No, I like Corbin. I didn't like Constable Corbin. I hated it.
Baron Corbin, he has so much heat with the crowd that they stopped watching Raw. It coincided. Like, Baron Corbin becomes Constable Corbin, and that's when the Raw ratings went like tanked, like fully.
Don't get me wrong. I am a Corbin fan. I do like Corbin. I think the work he does is great. I hated Constable Corbin. I hate the fact that he's pretty much a joke now. But I don't dislike Corbin at all.
Yeah. But hey, man, it's gonna be great to see Edge back. I can't wait to see him back. He's, like I said, one of the best. Not just in WWE, still one of the best in WWE to this day. All right, you know what's not one of the best things about WWE nowadays, Trevor?
We're gonna get into it.
We're gonna get into it, and that is the writing staff of WWE. And look, this is not to point out one specific writer. This is more of a habitual problem that WWE has been dealing with for a while now. But WWE's preference for writers and members of its creative staff to not have prior involvement in professional wrestling has become a topic of debate amongst fans for years, with one side saying it strengthens WWE from a cinematic and episodic television point of view, whilst others say it waters down and weakens the wrestling. I think the latter part is pretty true, but we'll move on. Now, a new writing staff member by the name of Kenise Mobley has reignited that debate, and having admitted that she had very little prior knowledge of wrestling before joining the company. When she was speaking on a podcast, she says, quote, "Yes, I have just been hired by WWE. Given the things that Given the things you know about me and my entire life and what I'm into, yeah, that's surprising. Yes, it surprises me. They did not require me to know anything about wrestling, but I do have background in film production and comedy writing, and they're like, perfect, come on in." She also went on to say, so I'm on the Monday Night Raw team. No surprise there. So there's Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and people I know are on Bobby Lashley. She just goes on to say, some stuff about Bobby Lashley. That's fine. So basically, that's the gist of it, Trevor. We have a newly hired member of the WWE writing team, and I'm sure she's a wonderful TV writer. I'm not saying that she's not, but when we're talking about wrestling, she says that WWE does not require their writers to know prior knowledge of wrestling, meaning they don't know how to build wrestling storylines. They don't know how to kind of get into the head of a wrestling fan. They don't have that relationship. What the fuck? What do you make of this?
Excuse me. Oh man, that's just it. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I wish it would surprise me because it doesn't. But you would think that it would at least they would at least require them to watch some wrestling to know something about it. You know what I mean? Like at least to have some, like you said, like to be on the same level with the fans, to be able to write this story so former wrestling fans all around can understand it in a wrestling mindset. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this makes sense because this could happen. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the fact that she's a comedy writer, the fact that she's written in film and stuff, that helps. It does because it gives her a little free leeway to be creative with certain subjects. But she needs to know the product she's writing for before she just gets out there and just writes cold turkey.
See, my thing is, I actually don't. I don't. People think like that it needs to be a one or the other. You have to only have wrestling people. You only have to have cinematic, comedy writers from Hollywood. I think here's the thing. At the end of the day, the bulk of your business, if you're WWE, comes from your TV deals. And what are you presenting on TV? You're presenting professional wrestling. So you should, at your core, your show should have a professional wrestling type of vibe, and they should be written, I think, by people who know that perspective. That's not saying that you shouldn't have, people who are outside of wrestling having some input. That can be good. That perspective is needed. Look at someone like what's his name? Vince Russo, who came in WWE. Look, Vince Russo as the head writer of any wrestling organization, terrible. But Vince Russo giving different perspective with Vince McMahon and wrestling people as filters worked. And I think in a very similar way, you can have that work with the WWE writers. But giving free reign to people who don't have any knowledge of wrestling, who probably don't take wrestling seriously, who probably think wrestling fans are all like 50-year-old nerds who just like sit on their laptops and complain. Which, by the way, look, kind of true. Regardless of that, they don't really know. They don't have that perspective of what wrestling fans like. So once you don't have that perspective, you aren't writing for those people. You're just writing for Vince McMahon, which is what we've seen and what we've heard for a long time. And I think that's like part of the problem that has plagued WWE for a while. I don't want to dwell on it for too long, but I think they need to kind of change that. They need to change that. Like, have the perspective of people who are outside of wrestling. That's fine. And that's good. And it works, especially when you're doing cinematic matches over the past year. I think that's helped out a lot. But also, you need to have that core. You need to have that core wrestling philosophy, because once you lose that, you lose fans. And we've seen that with Raw especially. Like, we've seen that happen, and it's not a good thing for that brand.
No, it's not at all. Like you said, pretty much piggybacking off what you said. Like, it's fine to have people in other writing venues, like comedy writers, like people who write films, things like that, write for television shows. There's nothing wrong with that, but they do need that wrestling perspective, and I think that's exactly what's lacking in Raw. I mean, I'm not sure who's writing for SmackDown. I even think they'll be the same writers, but it's translating better at SmackDown than it is at Raw.
Yeah, huge facts. All right, let's move on and end our WWE talk. We'll get to AEW in just a minute after this segment, but let's end our WWE talk today by talking about perhaps the best thing about WWE over the past 5-10 years.
Oh, absolutely. She's the most over wrestler that they've had.
PW Insider reported that Becky Lynch, yes, the man Becky Lynch, visited the Performance Center this week as part of her training for an eventual return to the ring. The report was corroborated by Fightful Select, who specified that the former Raw Women's Champion was at the WWE Performance Center on Thursday and was working in the ring. They cite multiple sources saying that Lynch was looking jacked and was looking like she had never been before. So she apparently She's ready, I think, for an in-ring return. Several female superstars also reportedly noted that they were hopeful that Lynch's imminent return to WWE would likely mean a significant improvement in their booking. Lynch has not been on WWE programming since announcing her pregnancy last year. So, Trevor, the man Becky Lynch is returning to the ring. We assume it's going to happen sometime around between when they return on touring and SummerSlam.
Right.
When Becky Lynch returns to action, what does this mean for WWE?
It means that, one, your ratings are going to go through the fucking roof because you have the most, like I said, the most over wrestler in the past 10 years back on your show, your program. Becky Lynch, everything Becky Lynch touches at this point is money. Becky's promos are good. Becky's in-ring performance is good. Becky Lynch helped make that SmackDown and Raw feud a few years back. Like if it wasn't for her accidentally getting her nose busted, and it wouldn't have been great TV. It was great TV. Seeing this crazy woman walk through the ring with blood dripping down her face, like beating everyone's ass, was what you wanted to see. It was what you wanted to see. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, she's nothing but a female Stone Cold." Okay, so what? It's like I don't
Becky
see
Lynch.
anything bad.
That's one thing I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the one thing I mean. Is she has a Stone Cold like effect. I will say this.
Right.
She has a similar type of vibe in her mentality and how over she is. Like Becky Lynch. Like look. Yeah. I'm going to say it very, very clearly. Once Becky Lynch returns to WWE, doesn't matter whether she's on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or WWE main event, she is the most over person on that roster day one. It's not even a debate. You hear that, whoa, it's over. Like she's going to get the same pop as Stone Cold does when she gets that glass broken. But other than that, dude, Becky Lynch herself is Becky Lynch. Thank you.
Becky Lynch.
We're gonna be talking 10 years from now. Oh my God, this superstar gives me big Becky Lynch vibes. Like she's been able to successfully do that. She's a bit of a crossover star. She was selling merch like crazy. Like there was a time where Becky Lynch was outselling everybody on merch by a mile. And And we can talk about like the whole thing of like how much she's getting paid and all that, because I do think if you look at the numbers of how much she's getting paid to some other people comparatively to how much she's bringing in, it's kind of atrocious how little she's getting paid that we know of.
I think I remember looking at those numbers. And it was pretty,
she should like if there's any justice, if there was any true justice in this world, Becky Lynch would be getting paid more than Nick Khan because she probably does more for that company than Nick Khan does. Regardless, though. Becky Lynch, when she returns, is going to be the most over person on that roster, and they have to be able to capitalize on it. No matter and here's the thing, she's someone you could do hokey stuff with her on Raw, it'll still get over because Becky Lynch is doing it. Like even when Stone Cold wasn't doing some of the worst stuff of his career, like the Kumbaya, my lord, with heel Stone Cold in 2001.
He was still over, He
was still over like Rover. So you can do things with Lynch like that. Please don't don't do hokey stuff. She the thing is people ask what should they do when she returns? Immediately, day one, she's the champion. Yeah. You bring or you build it up to WrestleMania 38, Becky Lynch again, main eventing WrestleMania, winning the belt. That's what you do because
they probably won't do that, but that's what they should.
Oh, they should. They 100% should.
They definitely should.
If what you care about is money, why not take the biggest draw you have in your company signed on your roster right now in Becky Lynch and build a big storyline to your biggest event of the year and draw money.
I don't disagree with you. Let's get that clear. I don't disagree with you, but I also don't believe that that's what they're gonna do. I mean, they might surprise me. They might surprise me, and I hope they do. But I just at the current state WWE is in the way they work, I don't see that happening.
Someone in the chat just said, "Put her on SmackDown on Fox." Yo, yes. If there was any justice, she would be on the best show. But I think, having her on WWE SmackDown might actually take away from her, because I think you'd be fitting too much on SmackDown in 2 hours. I think she has to be on Raw, because that show, first of all, that show needs a boost the most.
It does.
Secondly, it'll give her.
You still have Bianca Belair. If you still have Bianca Belair on SmackDown,
thank you.
It takes away from Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
So
now, I think so too. I think that someone in the chat also just said Bianca Belair versus Lynch at WrestleMania in Dallas. Yes,
book it.
I would like that. Book it. I would like to see that. I would totally like to see that.
But that would be an interesting one, because Becky is a tweener. She's definitely a tweener when it comes to it. But I don't know if Bianca has had enough exposure with this character yet to deal with that.
I mean, look, I think it would be a very similar thing with. I know we go back to the Stone Cold comparison a lot, but it's not really indicative of like who these two are as like performers. It's more indicative of like how over they are, I would say.
Right.
Like there's a little bit they've done like storylines with two people who aren't necessarily baby faces or whatever, or two baby faces even in WrestleMania. Like you could do. Like they did it with The Rock and Stone Cold 3 times, and both of them were over. No matter who was playing the heel, both of them were over, and it worked. If you find a way to do this, whether Becky Lynch wins the Rumble and challenges Bianca Belair, whatever, it's going to work. But at the end of the day, you either build to a feud with Becky Lynch winning the title at Mania 38. If you're not going to do that, put the title on her immediately. Put the belt on her immediately. Like it's not even close. Like,
because Becky versus Ripley saves Ripley's career.
Yeah. Oh, God, man. I feel for. They're such good people. They have so many good people, and they don't know how to use them.
Exactly. And again, it's not saying that Ripley's a terrible wrestler. Don't get me wrong. I like Ripley. I do. It has nothing to do with her. She's great. She's money. Charlotte, when she's better and not whiny, she's money. But right now, they're just not using them correctly. So honestly, when Becky comes back, if Ripley still has that belt, Ripley Becky. Great match.
Yeah. And look, nobody is more excited about Becky Lynch's return than I am. I love Becky Lynch. The idea of Becky Lynch returning actually does give me goosebumps. And I'm kind of, it's weird because the comparisons to Austin and Lynch, I think, are always going to happen. Not only because how over they are and the promos and whatever, but also because think about the paths that their careers have kind of taken. Lynch has this great moment at WrestleMania where the era of the man began, right? And then she has this period of time where she's out for a year, very similar to what happened to Stone Cold about a year after he won the belt at WrestleMania 14, I believe it was. So
are we talking about when he won the belt, or when actually Austin 316 actually began? Because Austin,
no, I'm talking about when he. Okay. No, I'm talking about. Well, no, it's like Lynch had her Austin quoting her big moment when the nose was busted and everything. But, but I'm saying they both had this stint of time where they were out, and I think after Stone Cold came back, it was very easy. He came back and immediately got rocketed to the moon. And he was the star of the company again. Do the same thing with Becky Lynch.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna try to do the same thing with Becky. If they don't do it,
they should. She's the Becky Lynch is the biggest star in your company. She's not even close. Draw. I love Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Acknowledge him. Acknowledge that motherfucker. But Becky Lynch is, I'm sorry, a grade above Reigns. Even right now, she's the man.
What she's done, it was so funny too, because what she's done when she turned heel, that was the biggest pop of cheers I've ever heard for a heel. Honestly, I've heard a lot of cheers for a heel when she went out there with Charlotte and started beating the shit out of Charlotte and just became this heel in front of our eyes. Everyone cheered her. They didn't boo her. They cheered her. Yes. Finally, let Becky loose. Yes. And that's pretty much what they did. they let the reins off Becky, and she has become this star. She believed in this character. She pushed this character. She cut the best promos out of anybody while she was doing these. She wrestled some of the best matches in her career, and she helped make some wrestlers better than what they were. Like, Becky is money. Becky's one of the best wrestlers in the company.
And you know what else, Trevor? You know what? We say character a lot, right? But you know what the best thing is about Becky Lynch?
This is her.
It's her. It's not even that much of a character. It's just an exaggerated version of herself. Like the feud she had with Ronda Rousey, that was built almost exclusively on Twitter. Like and Becky Lynch, Rebecca Donaldson bodied Ronda Rousey on Twitter all those times.
She did. It was great. It was great.
And it just shows you, man. Sometimes, man, like, it doesn't happen often with WWE, given how like sanitized everything has to be. But if there's one person in this company you just let do what they do, it has to be Becky. It has to be Becky.
And I loved her and Ronda's feud. I like Ronda.
Ronda's great. Ronda's great.
I love that feud with them, man. I loved it. I thought it was so good. I just thought it should have left Charlotte out of it. But I understand.
I mean, if Ronda ever returns, that's the big money match. Because Ronda, remember, I know that was Becky Lynch's moment, not taking it away, but Ronda was not really pinned 1, 2, 3 to lose her belt. Remember that. Her shoulders were up the whole time, man.
That's right. Cool.
If it ever does happen, if she ever does decide to come back to wrestling, which I don't know, I think there's reports she doesn't want to, but if she ever does,
she said something about not coming back. Then she said something about the money. I don't know. She's playing video games and pregnant right now, so she's having fun.
WWE has a lot of money. I no question in my mind they will find a way to make that happen. Trevor,
let's go. What we doing next?
Let's move on. Let's move on from WWE. I think we ended that on a pretty good note. Let's talk about All Elite Wrestling.
Good stuff.
Excuse me. Let's talk about All Elite Wrestling. The AEW World Title will be up for grabs this Saturday night on a special edition of Dynamite. We will see the World Champion Kenny Omega defend his title against the number one contender, the winner of the Double or Nothing Casino Battle Royale, Jungle Boy Jack Perry. This will be Jungle Boy's first ever attempt, his first ever match for the AEW World Title. Trevor, what do we expect out of this match? Just to begin with, we'll go into our predictions in just a minute, but what do you expect to see from not just Jungle Boy, but Kenny Omega in his first match in AEW since Double or Nothing?
I think you're gonna see the cleaner. I think you're gonna see Kenny Omega come out there and beat Kenny Omega. I mean, beat the greatest wrestler right now, the best wrestler in the world right now. Like you're about to see Kenny Omega, but you're also about to see Jungle Boy. And if you haven't seen Jungle Boy, watch Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is probably one of the best young wrestlers I've seen in a long time. He has so much talent. He wrestles like he's been wrestling for 30 years, honestly. He is a very, very good wrestler. I love Jack Perry. I think he is a great kid. I think he has a lot of talent. I think this match is probably going to be the best wrestling match of this particular week. It might be of the whole month.
Yeah, I have high expectations for this match, and it's because of we all know how good Jungle Boy is. He was a great prospect when AEW began, and he was right up there with like MJF as far as people who were going to be, who you thought would be faces of the company moving forward. Right. And as far as Jack, Jungle Boy Jack Perry and what he can do, we know that he is in the ring. He's money. So for him to be elevated to this stage with Kenny Omega is huge. This is the biggest match of his career as of yet. And I'm expecting to see similar things. I want this to be an all-out match. They should go all out for this. Make Jungle Boy Jack Perry look like a fucking star. And if there's anyone who can do it, and if there's anyone who's going to maximize it, it's going to be Kenny Omega. By God Omega. I promise you that. As far as that goes,
you're going to see a lot of this stuff. A lot of good technical. Because I think he's a very technical wrestler. He don't get a chance to see it as much because the tag team. But he's pretty technical actually.
He's a young guy too. He's only like 24, man. He's a young guy.
Yeah.
He's been at that level of like, we know what he's probably has that potential to be. We know what he's capable of, but we need to see it actually happen. And I think this is the part where you show them what he's actually capable of in practice. So it's a big test for Jungle Boy too. Let's not also ignore that. Like this is a big test for him to see if he can be at that level. And a lot of people are going to tune into Dynamite for this. I think you're going to see a lot of people interested in this, especially a lot of AEW diehards. But as far as predictions go, Trevor, is there any chance we see Jungle Boy Jack Perry take home the gold this weekend?
So here's something I was thinking about. Okay, so in logically speaking, probably not. Only because they're still doing the belt collector, and I don't believe that they will allow him to lose the belt when he has an upcoming match in AAA, right? And he also has the upcoming match with Sami Callihan. So I don't know if they will allow him to lose the AEW championship right now. If he loses a belt, honestly, I believe it might be TNA, but that's a talk for another time. But another thing I was thinking about. So Andrade is in AEW. And I think I mentioned this when we were talking about the match at first. So I think three scenarios could happen. Of course, the first one, Kenny just winning, right? Another one could be Jack Perry has him down, and Andrade interferes in the match, causing Jungle Boy the match, and or whatever from disqualification, and you could start a program with him and Andrade, Jungle Boy and Andrade. Another way it could happen, because we just talked about last week how Kenny Omega has been hurt, and he was even talking about at one point retiring. Maybe they drop the belt to him. It's a bunch of different things they could do. Honestly, the logical thing to go with is Kenny winning and keeping up with the belt collector thing, but there are some possibilities there.
There's a lot of possibilities there. I would say this, like, if you're gonna bet on it, do not bet on Jungle Boy winning. Like, no. Like Kenny Omega, his title is not going to be in jeopardy at least until All Out in September. That's the earliest it's going to be in jeopardy in Adding Point. And it's earlier as it should be. Again, what we are looking for in this match, and what I'm specifically looking for, is to see what Jungle Boy can do on this stage, and I'm excited for it. My prediction is that Kenny Omega will maybe finagle his way out of it and do his old shenanigans, or he'll beat Jungle Boy in a very highly contested matchup. Either way, gonna be happy.
It's gonna be a good match. I just want to see how strong Jungle Boy looks in this match, and I think it's gonna look very strong, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. The other thing that, specifically, by the way, big shout out to Kevin, who was watching this. He was lime green in the chat saying, engaging with us. Our audience is engaging with us. Big shout out to him and Lime Green Softball, who I hope are going to have a great season this year. But yeah, no, The other thing with AEW and specifically like Jungle Boy, I mentioned this earlier. I think this would also be an opportunity for them if there's a time to put someone like Luchasaurus in a spotlight. This would be a great time to turn him heel.
Yeah, you mentioned this before. Yeah, you definitely mentioned this one before.
Be a great time to turn him heel, have him cost Jungle Boy the title, and then move into a feud between him and Luchasaurus. Mm-hmm. And it's a ready-made feud. It's got the personal level to it. It's got like everything you would want out of a good wrestling feud. And It's costing the title. There's a lot of levels to it. It would work, and it would also kind of give Luchasaurus something else to do and make him into a big star as well. So
right.
Tony.
I mean, because he's also talented too. I love Luchasaurus.
Oh, dude,
he's too big. He's too fast to be that big, and too agile,
too big to be that fast too. Like,
but no, he's
yeah.
good, man. He's money.
Yeah, yep. Hopefully they do that. If not, I'll still be entertained. Let's move on and talk about this, Trevor. This was big news, big time in the news. Actually, before we get to that, guys, remember to like, share, subscribe. Trevor, I need you to hold down the fort for like 30 seconds. Can you do that?
What am I supposed to do? Vamp for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Rant for a solid 30 seconds about what's your least favorite thing in wrestling right now?
Everything WWE's done.
Why? Talk about it.
Man. Dude, I don't see the chat right now, so I don't know if any of you actually watch Raw and enjoy it. Like, honestly, if you honestly watch Raw and enjoy it, please let me know right now. I am very curious to see how many people actually enjoy Monday Night Raw. And don't be like Marks or anything like that. Like, literally, if you honestly enjoy it, let me know why, because I'm very curious. Because, growing up the way I grew up, I'm a lot older. I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm a lot older. And I watch wrestling. I enjoy wrestling. And Raw was one of my favorite things. And, I think he's back. And Raw was one of my favorite things growing up watching. And, it's just a shame to see it what it is. But, let me know in the comment section, and we'll talk about it later. How many of you guys actually watch Raw and actually enjoy it?
Note to self: wear darks next time. that was like six water bottles in the making. Oh man. Anyway, let's I'm sorry. I apologize to all the real takers out there.
It's fine.
It's live TV, pal. Except it's not TV. Anyway, let's move on.
I didn't do too bad of a job, so yeah, we're good.
Yeah. You ranted. You did exactly what I needed you to do. Anyway, so let's move on and talk about AEW. AEW will be coming to New York. All Elite Wrestling did not pull any punches when revealing its big plans to return to the road this year. Rather, it threw the stiffest shot ever to the heart of the WWE's most crucial territory in New York. AEW's flagship show, Dynamite, will be a special branding for the September 22nd edition. It will be live from Arthur Ashe Stadium, the home of the U.S. Open tennis tournament, and will be labeled AEW Grand Slam. For those who don't know, Arthur Ashe Stadium is one of the more historic stadiums in New York, and it's a big arena. It's a 20,000 seat, over 22,000 seat arena, I believe. It's got that beautiful dome look. The open, it can be open, it can be closed, so there's no worry about weather there. And it's a very stunning revelation for people who pay attention to AEW, because Tony Khan has said that, he said this on Barstool Wrestling, I believe, that Arthur Ashe Stadium will serve as the company's home base for New York, much like Madison Square Garden has for decades for WWE, before the Barclays Center. So this is big news for AEW. Not only are they running in New York, but they are running a very unique stadium that we haven't seen run a wrestling event before, and they're kind of making it their own. And a lot of people have actually been very positive about this, because as much as I think people would like to have seen them run Madison Square Garden from a historical standpoint, I think making their own way is actually seen as like a good thing, because they're not just copying WWE. So with that being said, Trevor, will holding events in Arthur Ashe Stadium moving forward help AEW kind of stand out of that WWE shadow?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, already they stand out as of now, running out of Daly's place. Sorry. That was, I thought that was interesting within itself. Then now Arthur Ashe Stadium, it hasn't been utilized for wrestling before, and it makes you wonder why. Honestly, it's such a big event. WrestleMania could have been there. You know what I mean? Like it could have been something that WWE could have jumped on, but they didn't, which is interesting. I think Tony Khan is very smart for this. I think this was a very smart idea. Capitalize on it, make it your own, do something that other promotions haven't done. You want people to see you as your own entity. This is the way you do it.
Yeah, I fully agree. And the other thing is, making your own way in the wrestling business is a difficult thing to do because for the longest time it's been, run the basketball arenas, run whatever's available, like the biggest arena in town or whatever. But what AEW is doing is they're running amphitheaters. Like not only have they run the entire show for the past year at an amphitheater in Daly's place, their first event back is going to be at an amphitheater in Miami. So it's always like an interesting changing look of Dynamite, which I think it keeps things fresh, it keeps things new, and the angles that they do with the cameras are always interesting. And at Arthur Ashe Stadium, man, that's going to be like, that's a beautiful stadium, by the way, guys. If you haven't, Google some pictures of it. We have some right here, but it's a beautiful stadium. And, Tony Khan said in the announcement for this that it's going to be a big year for AEW. And this event, Grand Slam, is going to be part of it. And it just shows you, though, I love what they do here in their mindset isn't the same. Because a lot of these wrestling companies, they kind of like to do some things the same way. AEW, in a lot of things, they like to think outside of the box and do, because if Tony Khan had said, we are running New York, we're running Madison Square Garden, everyone would have been excited. It wouldn't have been an issue. Yeah. But to go out on this limb, take this a little bit of a risk, not going to lie to you, at Arthur Ashe Stadium, which has never been done, it shows you the vision there is of creating something unique and creating something that people haven't seen before. And that's the thing that makes AEW, I think, as good as it is. And Tony Khan, who a lot of people say the money mark, has never had experience booking wrestling. Well, he's doing an amazing job for someone who has no experience booking wrestling. You know why? Because the dude understands marketing and he understands building teams. He's not just building superstars. He's building a team at AEW, and he's building these home bases like Daly's Place. He's building these home places like Arthur Ashe Stadium. He's building all this kind of stuff to make things feel special and unique to AEW. That's a great thing.
And I mean, like you said it the best. Like he's very smart. He's doing his own way, which is what you're supposed to do. But it's hard. It is hard to do. But I also think another thing that really helps him out is the fact that going into this, he was a fan of wrestling. He was always a fan of wrestling. So that going into this, that helps, honestly, because as a fan owning a promotion, you try to think about what you would want to see. And that's kind of what he's doing. And I think he's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, Tony Khan is doing an amazing job at that. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Trevor, is some comments that TK made. Oh, TK. TK. I can't believe what a mark I am. No, but I want to talk to you about some comments that Tony Khan made on that Barstool Wrestling podcast. So he was on Barstool Wrestling, and he talked about how 2021 is going to be a big year. And he said, I believe, quote, "No one else knows it, but I have some big plans for AEW in 2021. He said there's going to be big surprises, and overall, like it's going to be a brand new feel, and AEW is going to be doing special things moving forward, man. First of all, how exciting is that to hear? And secondly, as far as concerning, them being back, what do you think is what do you make of those comments by Tony Khan about some of the surprises and big things he has planned? It's got to be exciting, right?
Oh, it's super exciting. If you're a wrestling fan, you are super excited to hear that. It should make you happy, because it makes me happy. It warms my heart actually to hear that he is honestly in this for the long haul. He really wants to entertain people. He wants to do right by the fans, which, to me, that's where it starts. Is a wrestling owner or wrestling promotion. That's where it starts. Because without the fans, you wouldn't have a promotion. People don't watch you. You're not on TV. So it starts with the fans. For him to say that on Barstool, it really makes me happy. It really is a wrestling fan, and and I like what's good for wrestling. It makes me feel that this what he has planned is good for wrestling. Now, those surprises with Tony Khan, you never know. so far with these surprises, you never know exactly what he has coming down the pipe. But I mean, I expect some big signings, some more talent probably. I mean, maybe even the like we were talking about the triplets belt tag team belt, the three-man tag team belt.
The trios tag team belts. Yep, that's happening by the way. That's happening.
Yeah, I know. We just don't know when it's happening. So
yeah.
So I mean,
there's a lot to be excited about.
Who knows?
And Rampage. Don't forget about Rampage. That third hour of TV, not Dynamite. The third hour of TV, and an extra show they're having on Fridays right after SmackDown. I think that's a very good lead-in for them. So
it is. I think Tony's doing right now. He's doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, that begs the question, though. We just talked a lot about how Tony Khan has been doing the right things. But let's talk about some things that may have been gone wrong for AEW, because we got to keep them real. We got to keep them honest, man.
Exactly.
AEW is apparently in the red because of a 7-figure investment that the company has made. 7 figures, guys, by the way. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, because a big investment in AEW games to produce their own video games. And Khan was asked about this by PW Insider, and he said, quote, "I've made this huge investment in video games, and it's comical to me that anybody would try to pull it. It goes to show that I think people will try and take a negative out of a positive sometimes, because it's a hugely positive thing. Our wrestling company is very profitable. The only reason I won't net money this year on AEW is because it's our second year of operations, which is pretty amazing, frankly, for a startup that has had a level of investment that we put behind AEW. And the amount of time that this has been going, that we will see a significant profitable. We have seen a significant profitable investment already." So basically, what Tony Khan is saying here is that the wrestling company itself, the wrestling part, is making money. That's not the issue. They have the TV deals, they're selling merch, and when they go on the road, it's hopefully going to help out. He even went on to say, like, when Rampage comes on, when they start doing live events, they're going to be making more money. And I think the criticism about AEW and this big investment in AEW games is it's not, I wouldn't say unwarranted, right? Because it's a huge risk to invest this much money into one division, especially developing your games outright. But one thing I think people do forget is the fact that AEW is a very young company. Young. It's 2 years old, man. Like, it's a young company. They're not going to make great profits. Just they have to first make up the money that they've invested, and then they're able to get in the profit. So I think that's something people forget. It's also investing in the future. Like, having a video game company, having like a good structure for that is going to help them make money down the line. But Trevor, should AEW fans be concerned, or is this, like I said, just a new company investing in its future?
I don't think there's any call for concern, honestly. Like Tony said, and like you said, it's a new company. I mean, is it a bit risky to put that much money in developing your own games? Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, most companies have like a company outside that's helping them develop the games, and so they won't have as much put as much money into it as AEW has. But I mean, it's also kind of smart too, so you don't have to pay anybody else but yourself to make the game. But I mean, honestly, I don't think there's any call of concern. I think they'll be fine. Like you said already, like we've seen already, they're making a shit ton of money right now. Their revenue is pretty high, so I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think there's no real cause for concern. Again, young company, investing in its future. And also, by the way, you know who they're working on the game with? Ukes Pacific, bro.
Exactly.
Ukes, man. Smackdown versus Raw. Smackdown, here comes the pain, baby.
Yep.
I'm all for it. AEW, here comes the pain. Let's make it happen.
Ukes. When they stopped working with Ukes, I was really pissed off because the 2K games have been
WWE 2K Mustard State Farm Snickers Barbecue.
The best one was 19. 2019 was the best one.
Out of all the WWE games? I don't think so. I think
no, all the 2K.
The 2K?
Yeah,
okay.
all the 2K.
I mean, I liked 2K14.
Oh, that was pretty good too. Yeah, 14.
But the best wrestling video game. I think we can all agree. We can all agree that the best wrestling.
Don't say anything stupid.
What? What do you think I was gonna say?
I don't know
what
you
think I was gonna say.
Like
what? No, like. Okay, what about you? You know what? All the pressure's on me. No, what about you? What do you think is the best wrestling game there's ever been?
One of the best wrestling games I ever played was No Mercy.
Sir, not even close. Have you never played WWE Day of Reckoning 2 on the GameCube?
Yeah, Day of Reckoning was really fucking good. It was.
It was one of those, dude. You know what it was? It's weird. They came out with Day of Reckoning while they were still doing SmackDown versus Raw. Like, it was the same thing, and it was a different game. You know what it was? It's like, you know how in Dragon Ball Z they had those movies that were not canon.
Right.
That's what Day of Reckoning was as far as WWE video games go.
It really was a good game though. I forgot about that game.
Yeah, dude. No, not the first. The second one.
The second one. Yeah. The first
second one.
Shit. Oh, what was the other one? Was it WrestleMania 20 for GameCube, or was it 18? That was good. It was another one that was.
I think it was 18. I think it was 18.
I think 18 was the good one. Yeah.
They came out. They've come out with some. Look, the first two. SmackDown versus Raw. The first one was like, that was a good game. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. That was a great game.
That was really great.
That was a great game. Like I love the story, because you know what the best part is? That was back when the storylines were like really immersive.
Yeah,
and
that's why I said 2019 was good, because the storyline is really immersive.
Right, and for 06, what I remember is, man, they were like, dude, it was so expansive to some of the things you could do, because they had different storylines for different wrestlers, and the decisions you made actually changed the storylines and stuff. Like they had this one storyline in 2006 that was called Earning the Spot, and you could only do it with the Undertaker, and it was like a buried alive match with the urn and whatever, but you could only do it with the Undertaker, and you could only do it if you made specific changes and specific choices in what you were doing and saying. Like it was really hard to get there. Like we had to buy like a freaking cheat code book to try to unlock how to do it, man. Like it was crazy, man. Wrestling video games were great. Now they're just look at Enzo. Not Enzo. Enzo isn't in video games anymore. But like Corbin. Corbin. Oh God. All right. Let's talk about AEW one more time tonight, Trevor, because this is something I wanted to talk to you about. Is more of an overarching thing in wrestling, honestly. Last week, we saw AEW have their first ever MMA rules steel cage match between Jake Hager and Wardlow of The Pinnacle. You know, the match took place in an octagon with a cage around it, 3 5-minute rounds. Hager ended up beating Wardlow via referee stoppage. And we've seen other organizations do similar things, right? There's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport that have done similar types of worked MMA style matches that are kind of wrestling, but also brawls. We've also seen stuff like, Brawl for All and the Raw Underground thing. Although the Brawl for All wasn't really worked. It was a shoot.
Talk about that?
Yeah, but we've seen this kind of thing, and I think what we saw here was there is a bit of an appetite for this recently, especially with the Josh Barnett stuff and the stuff that AEW just did. So what do you think? What's your opinion on these worked MMA fights in pro wrestling?
I think the avid MMA fighter fan is gonna hate it, honestly, because like you said, it's a worked fight. They know what's happening. But it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. The stuff that Josh Barnett does, I enjoy, actually. And you know, one of the few things I did like about Raw recently was the Raw Underground stuff. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. It piqued my interest for a little bit. Um, but yeah, I don't really see anything wrong with it. I I do think there are fans that will be like, oh, they're trying to capitalize on something another market just to make money, and it's not as good because it's worked, and I can understand that, but like when it's done the way Josh Barnett does his, or the way AEW did theirs last week, it's entertaining because that match looked really clean. It was really clean. There weren't too many mistakes that I saw. There were a few, but not too many. You know, it worked well. I enjoyed it actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed the actual match. The commentary that they might want to bring in they might want to bring in Moro on commentary for that.
Yeah, because
it was just like everything was a Kimura. Like every 5 minutes.
Is that a triangle choke? No, it's a Kimura. It's a Kimura.
You heard what's his name? You heard Excalibur go, Kimura locked in. That's his leg, Excalibur. Like, what are you doing, bro?
Excalibur, that's a triangle. Okay.
Look, Excalibur, you're great. We might need where's the Golden Boy, man? Bring him back. Actually, man, like, can we talk about that? We'll look. Let me just put a bow on this MMA stuff for AEW. Right. I like this kind of stuff specifically, when it's presented, you know, in the way that it is, because it's wrestling, dude. Like it's a work. It's gonna be a work. Don't ever do real MMA stuff in wrestling. Should not happen. Let other companies like Bellator or whatever handle that. But it can work. You just have to do it in a way that, you know, that kind of like acknowledges it, right? Bloodsport does that in a great way, makes it its own thing, and AEW did a great job. But don't have it all the time. You know, I think Jake Hager, he could do a gimmick about like around these kinds of matches. That could be great. Like his AEW MMA record, like he could do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
and have that be cool. A thing. And you could get someone over by beating him in one of these matches down the line. Who knows? But there's ways to do it that I think could work. Before we move on to our last segment, Trev, one thing I want to ask you.
Okay.
AEW commentary team. Be honest with me. The AEW commentary team. What are your thoughts about the AEW commentary team of Excalibur, JR, and Tony Schiavone? Because I have mixed feelings about it, but I want to get your thoughts on it.
And we've talked at it. I won't say we actually talked about it. We've talked at it or around it for weeks actually. So here's the thing, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The three people in question, especially with JR at this time in his career, and Schiavone at this time in his career, they don't work unless they're together. The combination of the three work well. Now, with that being said, there are times where the Excalibur will mess up a name or move, or mess up a person's name or stuff like that, and there are times where you just don't hear JR at all. You hear just Schiavone and Excalibur. And then Schiavone has always been hit or miss for me. It's not that I don't like Schiavone. I think Schiavone knows what he's talking about for the most part. But I always thought he was hit or miss. Even when he was carrying WCW for the most part. Because Mike Tenay was not doing it. Bobby Brain Heenan, him and Bobby Brain Heenan were good together. Him and Larry Zbyszko were interesting together. How did I know he was? I mean, and Larry to me was just terrible. But I mean, he was
Barry Larry, man. We should have a segment called Barry Larry.
Barry Larry. But no, it was just. But yeah, I think we're in the same boat where they're okay, but I think it's time to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, so my views are kind of similar to yours. I think that AEW in its inception, having JR there was very important. You had to have JR there. It gave credibility not only to AEW, not only to the wrestlers, but the overall product you were trying to sell. It made it mainstream because JR was there. So it has a reason, and I think it still has a reason to be there. Excalibur is, I think, it's no secret, he's the best commentator they have on AEW.
Yeah.
Like he's, because he knows the wrestlers the most. He knows the moves. He's also an ex-wrestler, PWG. Like he's great, and he's also amazing. He's an iconic voice now in wrestling. Like I think now
that he's been there for what, 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's definitely iconic.
And he gets the wrestlers over, which is accomplishing his goal. That's the reason you have him there. Now the thing is, sometimes he's talking too much, and you kind of hit on the point there. It's kind of because a lot of times JR and Tony Schiavone, JR especially, doesn't talk as much. And look, again, I'm not trying to bury JR here. It's when JR is, I think part of it is the pandemic. I think JR kind of also needs to feed off the crowd a little. And when the crowd's into it, he'll be into it more. That's not to say he hasn't lost a step, but he's older. Everyone does. That's not a bad thing. I think you still have JR there, right? But at the same time, having Schiavone there, I think at this point, you might want to think about just making him exclusive to Rampage or something, because it kind of becomes a thing where you'll hear JR and Schiavone kind of talk over each other, and it kind of distracts from what's going on, and they'll do another thing. I think AEW back in the day, like the first 3 events when they had the Golden Boy, Excalibur, and JR, that was the best commentary team they had. And I'm not talking about
the Golden Boy, dude.
I'm not talking about Marvez, by the way. I like Alex Marvez as a person, but as a commentator, he wasn't getting it done. But they had, I think it was Fight for the Fallen, Fyter Fest, and All Out. The Golden Boy was there. Man, the Golden Boy was like he was like that extra thing. What is his real name? I don't know what his real name is, but he added something there that was it was fresh. It was fresh. What? It was exciting. It was a different perspective, and he was on it. And I think it helped JR out. It helped Excalibur because he wasn't the only one, calling out moves and stuff. And it helped you get a different perspective as a watcher. It made everything more palatable. And I don't know what his commitments are, but if you bring the Golden Boy in, I think that would help out the team immensely for Dynamite, especially because I think they had a great dynamic. There were those 3. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, I totally agree. Like I think that and that's what we talked about. His name is Alex Mendez.
Yep, Alex Mendez. Yep.
And the thing is, but we've talked about that. But I think that's why I enjoy Jericho on commentary. You know what I mean? Because I think he brings something fresh to the commentating team. Even Taz does too. Right? I mean, even though Taz is so monotone nowadays, but
and he talks right into the mic like this.
Exactly, the whole fucking time.
Being a body bag. Oh, I'm so sorry for anyone listening. It was on podcast. I should put a warning in. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I realized we're doing it. We're doing an audio version. Oh, no one's gonna. Oh, there goes our podcast.
Is he gonna do that every show?
I'm not. That is okay. That is the last time you'll ever hear a Taz on commentary impression from me. I apologize immensely to anyone listening to this.
But no, I don't know. I honestly agree. It might be time to mix it up a little bit, though.
To quote Vinnie Jones at Capital Carnage '98, "We're ready to mix it up." Vinny, I'm the only one who gets that reference. Vinnie Jones. It's gonna be emotional.
I love
Vinnie Jones. Yeah. Oh my God. Remember him as oh God. Oh my God. In that X-Men movie. Oh my God. I cannot believe. Oh my God. It's like, I know this, dude. I know this. You know what's when you can think about something that's very easy, you can't think about it. Oh my God. I can't. Oh my God, dude. This is like forgetting like who Wolverine is. Like the name Wolverine. This is like the same level. I can't believe Juggernaut. fucking Juggernaut.
There you go.
Like,
He was a Juggernaut. There we
how
go.
did I forget Juggernaut? I'm so sorry. Juggernaut. I forgot Juggernaut's name, but Vinny Jones and Juggernaut was hilarious. Oh, you bloody wanker! I'm gonna get you. Like, it was hilarious.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
It was so funny. So funny. All right. Let's get to our last segment of the day. Let's talk about MLW, something we don't talk about that much. But MLW has been in the news because Mike Johnson of PW Insider reported that MLW has been in touch with high-profile talents, and the promotion would look to some of them to be on the roster when their new season starts on Vice TV in September. One name that was thrown out there was Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman's representatives are one of the parties in talks with Kurt Bauer's promotion, MLW, and it's gonna be a difficult negotiation, I think, for MLW to do, but they're still ongoing, so there's hope. The former Universal Champion services wouldn't come cheap, though, because Strowman's manager is reportedly quoted asking for $20,000 to $25,000 for a 3-hour appearance from Strowman at an independent wrestling show. Braun would also require first-class air travel and 2 nights at a hotel, all paid for by company. Meals and ground transportation would also need to be covered. So Braun Strowman, look, great, big star, huge, big guy too. Guy, he needs some help traveling. You need some good accommodations. He's asking for the full-on Scott Hall, Kevin Nash treatment from WCW.
He definitely is.
Right, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But what do you think about this? Strowman potentially being linked to MLW as they start their new show on Vice in September.
I think you have a better chance of getting somebody like Aleister Black or Eddie N than you do Braun Strowman because, like, not saying that Braun doesn't want to work, and not saying he's not necessarily hungry either. But guys like Aleister, he's hungry. You know what I mean? He wants to get back out there. He had a shot, and he was in the process of making that shot work again, and then they cut him short. So, like, he'll work for somebody like MLW or somebody like independent companies like RH, something like that. He'll work for that bit of money. I don't think Braun will do well at an indie promotion only because of the type of money he's asking for.
Yeah, I mean, like the money aside, right? Because I think once you talk about like salary, right? If they're able to negotiate a salary, I don't think it's gonna be like $20,000 every 3 hours he's wrestling, right? But it's gonna be hefty.
Yeah.
But for MLW, it would be, I think, Braun Strowman would be a good investment, right?
Absolutely.
You would think it would be good if you're gonna invest and go all in on this new TV deal you have with Vice. And try to kind of pick up on this expansion, this boom in the wrestling business going on right now. Braun Strowman's a guy like you could build your company around, and he could be a transitional star, for them. So I think it could work. You put the belt on him immediately. You make him the biggest guy in the company.
He's your face.
He's your face. You do what WWE wouldn't do for the longest time. And you just go from there. But as far as the money goes, obviously, MLW, they're not WWE, they're not AEW, they don't have a billionaire backing them up. So I think that would be the biggest hurdle for them in those negotiations. And just off the whim though, like, what do you think of him asking for? Just because here's the thing, this isn't specific. The $20,000 number isn't specific to MLW. These are numbers that were thrown out there when other independent wrestling promoters called him. What do you think about that $20,000 asking price for Braun Strowman? Like, let's forget about the air travel and everything. What do you think about that?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Braun, and I don't think Braun had a chance to actually show what Braun could do because every time he was in a program, every time he had a shot to rise, he was cut off at the knees. So, I mean, like, I get it. You think you're worth more than what you were getting paid for or whatever. But I also think I think talents like him somewhat think they can get over on like independent promotions because of their names stature. You know what I mean? Of their namesake. And since they were at WWE, they think they can get over and get more money because like they're considered a star. And these are indie promotions. You know what I mean? But I think that's a little absurd to ask an indie promotion for $20K.
Yeah, man. That's like half of Impact's budget for the year right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like not even trying to be funny, but that's just true.
That's like, man, you want meals and ground transportation? We'll get you an Uber pool and some cheese and crackers, my guy. Like,
are you good with Gatorade or water? Which one would you prefer?
Gatorade. No, they got to get that. They got to get the like the big tubs of Kool-Aid. like they got that, and they're just gonna like give him like not even a full scoop. They're gonna give him like, you gotta ration that, man. You got half a scoop.
Hey, exactly.
Have you seen like there used to be like pictures of TNA catering going around, and it was like, dude, it was abysmal. It was like leaves and like leaves and dressing, and like the just really old chicken, and it's
terrible. That's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. Braun, good luck though. I do hope we see him back in wrestling. Though.
I do. I definitely do, man. I definitely do. Yeah.
I think we've covered mostly everything. Do you want to do a fan question before we leave, or you want to just leave it at that?
What do you think? You want to do the fan question?
What's your favorite pay-per-view in WWE history? We're doing the fan question. Favorite pay-per-view in WWE history.
Who sent this one in? Was it Jamie again?
Sasha. It's only like it's only two people that have questions that aren't centered around hate. So thank you for your positivity, Jamie and Sasha.
Since we're around hate, we got to talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want me to ask one of the Colby Covington questions, which we have a backlog of.
Oh man.
Which I don't think half of this stuff I can say.
Yeah, we will talk about Colby Covington later.
We'll bring up dude, Colby Covington, you have an open invitation on this show. Wide open, my God. Anyway, but I think that's just fine. What's your favorite pay-per-view in WWE history? Like one you could go back and watch anytime.
You go first because I got to think real quick. I believe I have one, but I'll let you go first.
Okay, that's fine. For me, the one I always go back to and the one I always kind of think of, and it's because it was like a very formative pay-per-view for me. And it to this day, it's like the reason I think I'm still a wrestling fan. It's because it's WrestleMania 20. WrestleMania 20 is like, go back and watch it. It's got like 12 matches or whatever. It's like a pretty loaded card, but it's like the easiest 12-match card you'll ever watch.
Who was the main event of that one? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, that was the triple threat. Benoit, Triple H, and Michaels. So it's one of the greatest main events in WrestleMania history. One of the best openers, I think, at WrestleMania history. It was Big Show versus John Cena. It was John Cena's first ever title match. On the card, you had Chris Jericho versus Christian. That big moment where Trish Stratus turned Chris Jericho. You had the Rock and Sock Connection reuniting against Evolution.
I thought that was that one. That was that the Night Eddie one as well?
Yeah, that was a night Eddie versus Angle when Eddie did his whole when he unlaced the boot on the and did the roll up, and it was
such a great show.
Hey, Molly Holly got her head shaved by Victoria, and that was a good match. Undertaker returns as okay, bro. The more like this is a loaded card.
Such a loaded card, man.
Such a loaded card. Great pay-per-view. So much happened. Man, we saw a lot of that was a great card.
It really was.
The Cruiserweight Open as well. It was a lot. I'm gonna go watch that after the show. Actually, when I eat, I'm gonna go watch that. But no, to me, like that night kind of cemented me as a wrestling fan, like forever. Because I was just like, because like we always talk about, when wrestling is really good, like and awesome, it's just the greatest. Like that was like one of those moments for me, and like. There's been other events that I've liked that are kind of close to that mean a lot, and that I think are maybe better even wrestling events in total. Like WrestleMania 30, I thought was a great wrestling event. AEW Double or Nothing 2019 is one of the best of all time. But WrestleMania 20 for me is like my favorite. Like that's the one I always go back to. That I'm always like
with the with the NWO and
Yeah.
that was a good
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fall Brawl '96.
one.
Yeah. There's like better. There's obviously better ones, but that's like my favorite because it's just like almost every match on that card is a winner. Other than like they had like a, I think they had like a a women's Playboy pillow fight. Which,
something dumb. I think it was something dumb like that.
Yeah,
I think one of my favorites was probably right when The Rock was getting hot. Well, he was already hot, but he was getting hotter. Rock Bottom.
Ooh, Rock Bottom '98 was it?
8. Was it 8 or 7?
It wasn't '97. It was not '97.
It had to be 8. It had to be '98. Had to be.
Yeah.
98 or 99, but I think it was.
That was the match between That was when he first won the title.
I want to say it was, but I know it was his. It was his.
Oh no! That was when Mankind beat him. Remember?
Yeah, he did.
Because so here's the thing, and that wasn't the main event. I'm sorry, I'm stealing your segment.
No, you're right. No, you're helping me out. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so it was but no. So that was Mankind. Remember, at Rock Bottom, Mankind beat The Rock for the title, and then The Rock beat Mankind at Royal Rumble in that I Quit match.
Yep.
And the main event of that pay-per-view, by the way, Stone Cold versus Undertaker in a Buried Alive match.
Oh my God, amazing match! Such a great match. That was such a great match. I mean, that whole pay-per-view was pretty loaded. They had I want to say, Hardcore won the Hardcore title in that match too, in that pay-per-view.
Oh God, hardcore. He's hardcore. He's hardcore.
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 My man.
You know, apparently. You know, apparently, dude, this is so funny. I was listening to an old Bruce Pritchard podcast, and it was about Hardcore Holly. I actually go back and if you guys haven't, go back and if you ever want to learn about wrestling, go back and watch the old Bruce Pritchard podcast. Not the ones he's done since he's been in WWE. Those are kind of very. He doesn't talk as much and as openly as he used to, but go back and watch those. There were some awesome, like 3-hour in-depth conversations about wrestlers' careers that are really dope in pay-per-views. But no, there's this one thing that he used to do when he was talking about Hardcore Holly. Apparently, Vince had a like open meeting in the locker room amongst all the talent, and he was talking to them, and he was like trying to find out ways to get better. He asked them, "If you guys have any ideas, let us know." And he's like, "Does anyone have an idea?" And no one says anything. And then Hardcore Holly like raises his hands like, "Yeah, I got an idea. Give me the belt and let me beat everybody." And the funny thing is, you could totally see Hardcore Holly doing that, man.
Yeah, you definitely can.
I 100% believe that. Like, he'd be like, "Yeah, give me the belt and let me beat everybody."
He was one of those jobbers that actually became something, like but especially when he was Bob Sparkplug Holly. He was
Thurman Sparkplug Holly. Thurman Sparkplug.
Oh my God,
you're done.
I hated him.
But Rock Bottom '98, great pay-per-view, man.
Yeah, after talking about that, yeah, great pay-per-view. Yeah, but I think that was one of my favorites, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been one of my favorite episodes we've done because we have had a lot of fun. Hope you guys have had fun watching, listening, and I hope you have even more fun in the future and stay updated on what we're doing in the future. Remember to like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. You got Real Take Sports Talk, by the way, tomorrow night, so be sure to check that out as well. If you're listening, please subscribe, follow us on Spotify, get that 5-star review going. Hopefully we're up there by now. And yeah, we will see you next Tuesday, hopefully. Next Tuesday night, we'll be back to our normal schedule, and we will be giving you all the news and updates on wrestling. Trevor, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time on Real Take Wrestle Talk.